The commander of Tivakana's most brutal and bloodthirsty mercenary army wrote a letter to Princess Science. In his letter, he proposed marriage, a contract marriage that would be advantageous to both sides. But there had been no response for 2 weeks. Princess Science, Lyanna Arsach, kept rereading the marriage proposal. Her advisors were getting worried about her indecision. They said this commander is a real savage, and his people don't even know the meaning of honor. Her closest aides couldn't fathom how he had the audacity to make such a proposal, knowing Her Highness already had a fiancé. The protagonist asked the court officials what they should do if she refused. She told them they all knew the estate was powerless to resist the occupiers. The commander claimed Arsach still had the strength to fight, and he himself was ready to die for his lady. She told Sir Varus that Tivakana's army had been besieging the castle for a month over this proposal, cutting off all supply routes. She regretfully reminded the officials that after 2 weeks, the food and water supplies in Arsach were nearly depleted. The protagonist knew her people were exhausted, and her soldiers had lost faith in victory. The invaders besieging the castle are the most brutal and ruthless mercenaries in this world. No one dared to stand against them. It was pointless. It was like walking into a suicide mission. Even Legis, the largest kingdom on the continent, had been forced to surrender and sign a humiliating peace treaty. To Tivakana, the siege of the small, half-ruined Science was like hunting a weak rabbit. It was a game. Lyanna realized fighting back was pointless. There wasn't much time left before the castle's people starved to death. The main character announced she'd accept Tivakana's commander's offer. Her advisors were shocked and furious. She was being reckless, clueless about the monster she was dealing with. The girl replied she'd heard enough rumors about him. Some of them were straight up terrifying. They say he prefers men in bed, not women, one of the princess's aides explained. The thing is, women who spent the night with him didn't make it. They couldn't survive his brutality. Sir Varus shouted, "How can the princess even think about agreeing to marriage when his mercenaries' lovers wind up dead in bed?" Lyanna said she knew these barbarians were monsters, but it was unlikely a guy with those kinds of plans would make a proposal. The main character figured the bandit commander didn't plan to kill her. The man urged the lady to think again. Remember Lord Felter, who'd gone to seek help from the Shark Kingdom. He was the princess's true love. She valued him more than her own life, guarded him like the apple of her eye. The girl reminded him he'd promised to return in 10 days, but way more time had passed. Since then, the Felter family's been sitting on their hands, just watching from the sidelines in silence. Sir Varus pointed out they were the most powerful family in Naka. You couldn't just cut ties with them. Princess Lyanna said she wasn't going to discuss it anymore. They couldn't wait any longer. She declared, no nonsense, that as the Arsach heir, she's got to pay the price to protect Nok and save its people. An hour later, a parley tent stood near the castle walls, but the mercenary general's seat was still empty. Sir Varus was livid. How could someone be late for a meeting like this? Guess these guys really don't know manners. Your Highness said it's a good thing she has time to mentally prep and think this through. Lord Tvakan, commander of the continent's strongest army, was born from a war god's union with a mortal he seduced with his power. Legends say the death god cursed the newborn to make the earth reject his flesh, dooming him to endless battles where he can't die. Lyanna thought, since Lord Tvakan's got that ruthless rep, she absolutely can't let him see her fear. Sir Varus told the lady he heard horses whinnying, people shouting, and swords clashing. He figured its battle sounds and guessed Lord Felter's back with reinforcements, fighting Tvakan's army. The girl was relieved Nok was saved, and she wouldn't have to accept that horrifying offer. The advisor shared her relief, but insisted she follow him to safety right away. He suggested finding cover, getting some distance so they can assess the situation calmly, since the mercenary armies are too busy to notice them. The princess and Sir Varus rushed toward the exit, when suddenly a man burst into the tent, flooding it with light. He apologized for the delay. The princess was stunned by his height, broad shoulders, and massive limbs. Lyanna realized, this gruff, blood-soaked guy is the war god's bastard for sure. The girl caught herself thinking that despite his brooding vibe, he was seriously hot. He said he had urgent stuff to handle, but everything was sorted. Then offered the princess a seat. Lyanna begged herself to get a grip. Just because he didn't look like a real savage didn't mean he wasn't dangerous. Her Highness said it was nice to meet Lord Tvakan, but she wanted to know why he kept her waiting. He said an enemy ambush was the reason. The heroine figured the reinforcements had actually made it. She was glad but kept her poker face. She offered to reschedule. After all, he had bigger things to do than a proposal. He said no need for that. Everything was already taken care of. He told his assistant to grab something for the princess. When the adjutant laid a blood-stained sword on the table, Her Majesty recognized it as Lord Felter's weapon. Lyanna realized her lover had died in the rescue. The Lord said it was proof he'd taken care of all his business. He wanted to cut to the chase. "What's your answer?" he asked the girl. The heroine's whole body shook, but she forced herself to get her act together and take control. She wanted to remind the Lord about etiquette. Academia didn't exactly encourage showing up to a proposal with a sword. The guy took the princess's words to heart and flung the sword at the floor so hard it drove halfway in. He said he never meant to insult Her Highness, just wanted to show that the guy who could have been a reason for her to say no was out of the picture. She realized she'd underestimated him. He doesn't just want to marry her. He wants to take everything and swallow up Nock whole. He's like a beast on the hunt, toying with his prey before he swallows her alive. Lyanna knew she had to escape and end this engagement. Without sparking a war, she prayed the Lord would swallow her lie. Told him she'd already shared a bed with her dead lover. Lyanna aimed a counterstrike by dropping the bomb. She was carrying Lord Felter's child. Sir Veraz paled at her words, but Lyanna smirked and asked, "Still insist on this marriage, my lord?" Lyanna laid it out. "You don't just want a wife, you want control of Nock through marriage." She warned, "No matter what happens to this marriage, the child in my womb will be Nock's next ruler. The next ruler won't carry Tvakan blood. The price just got higher than you expected, my lord." He turned to the princess. "If you recognize the child's right to the throne, will you marry me?" She hadn't seen that coming. "Let Her Highness bear whatever must be born. But from now on, they'll be mine alone," he said. After the marriage talks, Lord Tvakan offered to walk her, then reached out to help her onto his horse. She said she wasn't used to such gestures, and refused his help. He vowed he'd make sure that changed, starting from now. His confidence won her light over, and she extended her hand to him. He thanked the girl for trusting him, and suggested they both just go with it, letting their bond grow naturally. The guy noticed a tiny cut on her palm, but didn't let it bug him. Their parting ended with a long, heated kiss on her hand, full of possessive fire. Lyanna took off, and the commander's adjutant blew up, demanding why the lord agreed to marry a Prego princess. He reminded him their goal was to avoid bloodshed and claim Nock, but that was way too steep a price. The lord nodded. "You're right, controlling Nock's always been my main play." His adjutant blinked at the admission. Firman argued they should back out of the deal. An illegitimate kid would be total chaos. The lord snapped, "Having the queen is essential now." And his adjutant gaped at the sudden hard turn. He recalled how Lord Tvakan had been so cold to the ladies, gossip had the whole kingdom talking. The lord said, "I get I can't force Her Majesty to love me if her heart's already taken." "That kid's not a hill I'd die on," he added, and the adjutant snorted. "So you're playing the I just want love card?" Firman muttered, "This sudden confidence reeks of a love that's been brewing for ages." "I'm just reclaiming what was mine," the lord said, and his adjutant scratched his head, completely lost. "You think he's talking about Nock's throne?" the adjutant guessed. "But what's the catch? Secret past?" Lord Tvakan shut Firman down. "Back off and don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. I'll spill the beans if I damn well please." Lyanna Arsach watched the sunset, memories of her lover flooding back. He'd once asked her to trust him. Felter begged her to believe in his sincerity, even though her uncle pushed for an engagement with the princess. The memory made her cry. The way he'd promised to win her over, no matter how long it took. Lyanna said goodbye in her heart, hoping he'd find someone in the afterlife who loved him just as fiercely. She never let her fiancé go beyond a kiss. Their relationship was all business. The Felters pushed the marriage for power. Lyanna? She used their influence for her own gain. She's using her dead fiancé still, trying to hide the truth about the kid. Thing was, Lyanna wasn't sure she could fool someone with the cold, hungry eyes of a killer. Sir Maithlo's voice cut through her thoughts. She apologized, asking him to continue his report. He announced the city's restocked supplies, enough for 3 months. But that was because he'd slashed expenses to the bone. The princess exhaled in relief. She had 3 months to work with. Her advisor told her to stop being stubborn and finally raise taxes. She argued the 20-year drought wasn't ending overnight. She didn't want to push her people harder. The advisor claimed a tax hike would fix things. Lyanna thought he had a point. Revenues were dropping every year, and trade deals weren't saving them. Princess was happy she accepted the Lord's proposal. Sir Maithlo said she moved too fast. He added the royal family should have checked with the Felters first. The girl snorted in irritation. She'd contact them for the funeral arrangements, no doubt. Sir Maithlo noted the royal family had to mourn. The dead boy was the Felter's heir. Lyanna pointed out such a gesture might offend her current fiancé. They should talk to him about it. The princess's advisor bristled. Who cares about a savage's feelings? He added the Grand Chancellor would have been horrified to hear that. A shiver ran down Her Highness's spine. The Grand Chancellor, Lyndon Felter, was probably seething right now. He wanted the kingdom for himself by marrying his nephew to the princess. But now his plans were in ruins. Lyanna fumed silently. The man had already stolen everything from her country and still wasn't satisfied. Princess declared if Sir Maithlo was done reporting, he could lay the documents on the table and be gone. As the advisor left, he muttered the Felters had been tied to Knockham for generations. He warned Her Highness ignoring their interests would cost the kingdom, and her personally, dearly. When the princess was alone, she realized even in mourning, she couldn't stop thinking about politics. She glanced at the clock and realized the body of the dead Lord Felter would arrive at the castle soon. Lyanna figured she should dress in mourning, but then remembered Lord Tvakan promised to show up with the body transport crew. She figured she needed to meet her new fiancé in something decent. The princess smirked, realizing how two-faced and self-centered she was. Lyanna knew she was still trying to impress another guy, even though her fiancé had been dead for days. Back in the princess's chambers, the nanny, sniffling through tears, said she'd brought the fanciest dresses. She wasn't sure those savages even deserved a proper welcome. Lyanna shot back that she had to keep up appearances and stick to the rules. The maid begged her mistress not to dress too fancy. Those wild men didn't deserve to see such beauty. She reminded them those killers were the ones who took her highness's lover's life. The princess said she got where Madame Flambe was coming from, but now she was engaged to Lord Tvakan. She explained it'd be rude and disrespectful to badmouth her ex in front of her future husband. Princess Lyanna dropped a bombshell. She had a secret no one else knew yet. She announced she was pregnant, and Madame Flambe lost it completely. She told the nanny to chill and asked how long before her bump would show. But before she could finish, they got a shout that Tivakan's mercenary commander had just rolled up to the castle gates. The sun was blazing over Naugam, and at the Arsach estate yard, 6 coffins were just unloaded. Lyanna wondered in her head if her fiancé's first engagement gift was going to be corpses. Lord Tivakana's personal aide noticed the bodies weren't desecrated and had even been given coffins. Her Highness was thanked for returning the fallen home with dignity. A lord approached the princess, saying another day had passed, and the engagement terms were still unresolved. He pushed to settle the marriage conditions right then, and Lyanna suggested moving to the conference hall. Faramos said both families wanted the wedding to happen as soon as possible. He explained winter was coming, and Lord Tivakana's army needed to pack up camp and find shelter from the cold. The young man added that rushing the marriage would also work in favor of her highness's child. Sir Maeshlo was stunned by the mention of a child. He knew the princess had never been with Lord Felter. He asked her highness whose kid it was. She said, "It's mine." The princess's answer collided with Lord Tivakana's. He claimed the child was his too, at the same damn time. Lyanna's eyes went wide. She'd feared he'd start slandering her honor with some lie. He said he'd raise the kid as his own and defend the child's throne claim under his name. The girl exhaled in relief, but Sir Maeshlo was furious, demanding to know what the hell was going on. Lyanna knew she was acting recklessly right now, but there was no turning back. She was scared. No telling how the ruthless lord would react when he found out he'd been lied to. Now she just had to either claim a miscarriage at the right time or sleep with the lord ASAP and fake an heir. The catch? She'd have to pretend to be a bed-hopping pro and bite the bullet through her first time in silence. Lyanna worried the guy might figure it all out and realized there was never any baby to begin with. Faramos summed it up. The wedding had to happen within 2 weeks, or it'd be hard to hide the princess's condition. Sir Maeshlo pushed back. 2 weeks was a rush. Even getting a wedding dress ready in that time was impossible. The lord said the princess had nothing to worry about. He'd source the dresses and handle all the logistics. He asked if there was another reason she wanted to delay the wedding. She was too scared to admit it, so she blurted out, "The dress isn't the only issue." She said the kingdom's finances were in shambles. Lyanna added they couldn't secure funds for the wedding prep in such a short time. The lord said if the problem was just money, it was easily fixed. He told Faramos to bring the chest to the table. His assistant noted the gold had been brought along. He hoped it was a better wedding gift than coffins. The princess and her advisors stared at the gold chest in awe. Faramos pointed out that the marriage contract states the Nauk throne will go to the child her highness gives birth to. Plus, Tvakan will swear loyalty to House Arsach and join their royal guard. Sir Maeshlo objected. Hiring Tivakan's army as royal guards would be costly, and the gold they gave wouldn't cover it. Faramos quickly reassured him that my lord would handle those costs too. The girl just didn't get why he was being so generous. If Tivakan's warriors join the royal family, Nauk will be the strongest fortress in the 5 kingdoms. Lyanna pointed out the lord covered all wedding costs and gave the country a bright future to count on. He promised to recognize the kid's claim to the throne and swear loyalty to House Arsach. Her highness said my lord wouldn't gain a thing from this. He'd actually ruin his reputation. She said she didn't buy that, it was all so great. He's probably got an agenda. He said he had no reason to lie. Lyanna pointed out Nauk doesn't need a powerful backer. Hell, no one wants to take over bankrupt lands. He brought up the princess's last fiancé, Lord Felter, and said some might still want those lands. Doesn't matter if it's for Nauk or the princess. Faramos said he'd take silence for agreement and told the princess's advisors to step out to hash out the contract details. Her highness and Lord Tvakan were alone now. She felt the room was crushing her, like she'd suffocate any second. Lyanna figured fresh air would help. She headed for the castle's backyard garden. Leaving a guest alone was against the rules of etiquette, so she asked my lord to keep her company. The guy agreed and offered Her Majesty his bent elbow so she could lean on him as they walked. The girl was stunned the barbarian and killer was acting like a real gentleman. Lyanna felt like she was strolling with a bear. The guy was huge, towering over her, and his arms were so strong. He noticed the princess's palm wound looked worse, and guessed she hadn't treated it. He decided she needed to take better care of herself, and vowed to personally check every scratch on her body from now on. He leaned in again, about to kiss the scrape on her hand. She flinched, pulled away, and snapped, "I'm fine, okay?" Lyanna suggested continuing the walk, but secretly marveled how ironic it was that Lord Tvakan was preaching self-care, especially since he was currently the biggest threat to her. The two reached the garden, but all they found were skeletal trees and shrubs with dead branches. Lyanna cursed herself for dragging them here, and prayed Lord Tvakan wouldn't take it as an insult to him. She remembered this garden used to be the nation's pride. Now it was all Nauk had to offer Lord Tvakan. She hoped it'd hit him like a message in a bottle. This place wasn't worth his time. Lord Tvakan caught the princess's frown, asked what was wrong. She muttered she shouldn't have brought him to this barren place. He shot back, "I wouldn't say that. After all, the princess is here." And she didn't expect such a flirty remark. Lord Tvakan told the girl to stay still and yanked her close. Lord Tvakan crushed his weight onto Lyanna, and she saw the enemy arrow buried in his shoulder. His soldiers rushed over to Lord Tvakan, asking if he was okay. The guy ordered them to catch the scumbag who hit him and bring him in alive. A smug grin crept across the archer's face. He'd already run and hid, now relishing the chaos and screams. Her Highness asked Lord Tvakan how he felt, and if he was badly hurt. She couldn't figure out who would take such a desperate risk, jeopardizing the hospitable and friendly Naka's reputation. She started shaking with anxiety, urging Lord Tvakan that Naka was completely innocent in the attack. Lyanna also asked how she could help him, but he said he'd rather assist the princess himself. He put an arm around her waist to help her up, but Her Majesty objected. Of the two of them, Lord Tvakan was the one injured. Lord Tvakan agreed, but the princess was shaking like a leaf. Another moment and she'd pass out. The princess and Lord Tvakan were close, so he accidentally brushed against some sensitive parts of her body and blushed furiously. He suggested heading back to the building. It was safer, but kept an arm around her waist to keep her from falling. Firman greeted his lord with a laugh, sarcastically asking how he managed to catch an arrow. Lord Tvakan endured Firman's taunts in silence, but the lord's assistant kept going, speculating the archer had an eagle's eye to hit Lord Tvakan. Lord Tvakan had enough and ordered Firmos to shut up immediately. He told the princess to sit down. She's barely standing and looks like she's about to faint. She assured my lord she's feeling fine and asked how bad his injury was. The lord's personal aide replied the arrow didn't hit any vital points, but it went in pretty deep. He concluded the injured shoulder will hurt badly, and the lord will have a fever. If the tip was poisoned, the situation's way worse. Sir Veraz declared the castle guards will find the attacker for sure. He announced if the arrow's poisoned, they'll quickly find an antidote for Lord Tvakan. Firmos said he doesn't doubt the scumbag who shot the lord will get caught. But the real problem isn't him, it's his employer. He added he wouldn't want to believe the arrow was meant to show Naka's true intentions. Sir Veraz didn't like this. He started shouting the guys, implying they've got no honor for even considering an assassination. Her Highness ordered the man to shut up and said there are marriage opponents in Naka, but they don't speak for the whole country. She admitted her country's biggest dream is peace, and no one wants to see the marriage contract destroyed. Lord Tvakan declared he wants the same thing. His intentions haven't changed. Firmos informed the Lord he wants to hand the investigation to Tvakan's army with his permission, to find the shooter. Sir Veraz lost it again, and asked why assign it if Arsach's army soldiers are already handling it. The Lord's assistant told her not to take it personally. The Tivakana army feels it's their duty to track down whoever tried to kill their commander. The advisor asked the princess to do something about it, and she wondered, was this how her marriage to the Lord was always going to be? Lord Tvakana's got a fever from his wound. The princess stayed by her new husband's bedside all the time. The nanny tried to convince her to rest. With a fever this high, he won't even remember you were here, she said. The girl shot back. Caring for him is my responsibility. This is no time to back down. She watched the sweat bead on his body and knew the doctor hadn't missed the mark. It was going to be a rough fever fight. Lyanna remembered how calm the Lord had seemed after the injury. That's what gave her confidence everything would be okay. Now she saw it. His calm was from being used to getting hurt. The scars on his body told the story of someone who'd been through a lot. She handed Madame Flambe a handkerchief. Wipe the sweat off him, she ordered. The nanny sighed. How can you marry a man you can't even bring yourself to touch? The heroine hissed. Quiet, he's right here, she explained. It's not that I can't touch him. I just thought Madame Flambe would do it better. Get a towel and more water, she told the nanny. I'll do it myself. Lyanna wiped him down with the damp towel, each movement making her skin crawl, but deep down she knew. It wasn't just revulsion. Something else was stirring. She couldn't tell if she hated her fiancé or not. For some reason, the guy stirred up a whirlwind of emotions in her, but Lyanna couldn't even explain to herself what about him bugged her. Suddenly, my lord opened his eyes and mumbled that if the princess found touch unbearable, She should say exactly what was bothering her. Her Highness gasped, realizing Lord Tvakan hadn't been asleep and had heard everything. The main character asked Lord Tvakan how long he'd been faking sleep and how much he'd managed to overhear. Lord Tvakan said he'd caught the part where the princess admitted touching him wasn't as unbearable as she'd claimed. The guy said maybe the fever was messing with his head, but he wanted to test something out. He gently pressed his hand to the princess's face and said he wanted to know just how high her limit was. She yanked her face away and snapped that my lord had a high fever and should stop wasting time talking and just rest. The guy replied that Her Highness was right. He was weak from the fever, but he still needed to check something. He pressed a finger to her lips and asked if the touch was tolerable for her. Then he ran his hand through the princess's hair and clarified if she was against the move. Then Lord Tvakan traced his fingers down her neck, but the girl yelped that it was enough and shoved his hand away from her face. She demanded how much more testing he wanted to do. After all, he'd proposed at the exact moment she was supposed to be handling her fiancé's funeral. Lyanna fumed. How could Lord Tvakan expect reciprocal feelings under these circumstances, as if they were lovers? The guy said he wasn't totally sure right now because of the fever, but one thing's for damn sure. He's not handing his bride over to anyone. He grabbed Lyanna's hand and teased it might be too big a deal for your majesty to handle. She confirmed the lord's suspicion, and he shot back. You can't keep saying no forever, princess. I'm not just some fan, I'm your groom. He pushed hard, asking, what's it gonna take for you to say yes? She figured it didn't matter how sincere the lord's feelings were. All that mattered was the promises he made that'd help Nock. She decided she wouldn't let those promises be empty. She'd make sure this bond wasn't just empty words. It had to feel real. Lyanna had an idea. While his head's all foggy, she'd make him promise not to destroy Nock. The guy quipped, what's your deal, princess? What's in it for you? The heroine realized she had to show the lord this union was real and solid. She vowed, I'll wait for you, Lord Tivakana, and miss you with all my heart. Speechless, he yanked her close, gripped her waist, and kissed her. He whispered, if I wanted to destroy Nock, I'd have done it by now, instead of asking you. The kiss was long and hot. Before she knew it, her head was on the pillow. He covered her neck in kisses. She begged herself not to lose her head. His fever's talking. Lyanna knew the passion would fade once his fever broke. But for now, she'd ride this moment. Lord suddenly stopped, realizing that was enough, for now. He didn't know how far he could push it, hiding behind his fever. Princess ran her hand over her fiancé's bandaged chest, eyes filled with sorrow. I'm so sorry, she whispered. She admitted she'd forgotten for a moment how sick Lord was. Wishing him a speedy recovery and a good night, Her Highness quietly left the room. In the hallway, she wondered, had he really meant it, or was it just the fever talking? Would he keep his promise? But the bigger question gnawed at her. Would Lord's warm, tender passion for her vanish once the truth came out? Meanwhile, Servaraz wandered the castle's rear courtyard, where the attack had taken place. Underfoot, he spotted a leaf-shaped pendant, and froze. He knew exactly who it belonged to. He headed toward the princess's chambers to report it, but ran into her in the hallway. Her Highness narrowed her eyes at Servaraz. What are you doing roaming the castle this late? She hissed. The advisor shushed her. I came alone, he whispered, but I'm not sure I'm not being followed. There's something you need to see. He handed Her Highness the leaf-shaped charm. Recognize this? He asked. Lyanna's voice trembled. This belonged to Lord Felter. It was recovered near where the arrow was fired, the commander replied. The truth hit her like a punch. Her ex-fiancé, Leif Felter, might have been the one who shot him. Her Highness lost balance when she realized her ex is alive and took a shot at Lord Tivakana. Cerveros tried to steady the princess, saying we're not sure for sure if Mr. Felter's still alive. He guessed someone else might have used Sir Lafitte's gear. Lyanna suddenly remembered. Those coffins brought in haven't been opened yet. She's gonna check it out herself and head to the chapel. Cerveros pries open Mr. Felter's coffin. The princess announced, Yep, that's Lafitte's armor, but it's not him. Lyanna said, Guess the ex is alive. He did the shooting, and he's setting up a shadow war. The advisor figured he's hiding with his uncle, the Grand Chancellor. Lyanna let out a relieved breath. Good, at least the ex is safe. Cerveros says reach out to him, but low-key. He suggests writing Lafitte a letter secretly. Just then, loud knocking slams the doors. Princess and advisor whip around. It's Firmos, sneaking a suspicious glance at Her Highness. What are you two doing here? The guy dares to hint the princess wanted to inspect the corpses herself. He reminds them about the local rule. No gawking at the dead until the funeral. Lyanna reassures him. I just wanted a moment alone with Mr. Felter. The funeral's tomorrow, and this is my last chance. The princess asks, Problem? Firmos replies, Nope, just gotta tell Lord Tvakan about it. She declared it was time to go, and before leaving, said she hoped Tivakana's army finds the sniper soon. The Lord's aide thanked the princess, but secretly thought her wish felt kind of fake. Cerveros left the room with her and asked offhandedly what the heck was next with her new marriage. That question made her realize she couldn't pick between staying loyal to Lafidu and the fire she felt with the Lord. She knew the Felter family would risk anything to save the heir, but Lord Tivakana would definitely try to kill them all. Lyanna wasn't sure if she should stick with her heart and old fiancé or bow to Tivakana to secure Nock's future. She got so caught up in her thoughts, she blurted out loud that they needed to act fast. Cerveros asked the princess to clarify, and they instantly started scrambling to explain they needed to reach the dead guy's families ASAP. She asked for a direct meeting and froze when the advisor hinted the Lord might be suspicious. Fermos told his lord they'd been lied to. Lafitte Felter wasn't the one who died. He added the helmet didn't match the armor of Arsach's knight commander, like it had been rushed and forgotten to swap. The Lord said maybe the princess's ex somehow survived and sneaked into the castle instead of just running away. The Lord's assistant called Sir Felter a moron. Everything was already over, and you don't flex after a fight. My lord guessed Lafitte might not be here for Nock, but to secretly back the princess. Fermos asked the Lord, seriously, does he think the guy who's alive is trying to run off with his ex? He added that it's practically impossible. Just look at how fiercely she defends her country's interests. The guy asked if Lord really thinks Lafitte took the shot. He said Lafitte's a bow expert. He was the commander of Arsach's knights, and added that it's unlikely he hurt the Lord. He's not the type you take down with a random arrow. He laughed and said it's almost impossible unless Lord was stupid enough to step into the line of fire on purpose. But the Lord stayed quiet, so Fermos shouted, "It's ridiculous." The Lord must have lost his mind to risk his life for science. His assistant complained about throwing his health away. It's going to take forever to recover. He said he never thought the princess's ex would be a lowlife who'd aim for her highness. Fermos was shocked the Lord was so worked up over an arrow that almost hit Lyanna Arsach. Apparently, Lord Tvakan mentioned a few days ago he wanted the princess for science. The guy figured Lord's worried. The princess might still be useful, and her dying now would be bad news. Fermos pointed out the princess thought her ex was dead until she saw the body. But we can't ignore the chance she's in on it. The Lord asked, why not just wipe out the whole Felterpot clan? They reached out to the princess after all. At that moment, Sir Tvakan remembered Lyanna's plea not to destroy science. She'd swear to mourn him truly. He told Fermos to hold off. For now, the princess's true motives will come out soon. The guy agreed, but he said he'd keep watching and expand the search inside the castle walls. Lord Tvakan told his underling to stay sharp and sent him off. Alone now, he ran his hand over his bandaged shoulder, still throbbing and aching. Lord Tvakan remembered the princess, terrified, shaking with fear, and wondered how a scumbag like Lafitte ever became her lover. Lord Tvakan made up his mind. He'd kill Lafitte for sure. Meanwhile, Lyanna walked the hallway in her morning dress. She kept tripping. She'd lost so much weight. And the dress kept slipping off, getting in her way. She knew she couldn't afford a new black dress just yet. The thought made her sad. Soon her closet would have no decent, well-fitting dresses left. The princess wondered if Lord Tvakan would still be interested if he saw her like this. Her Majesty scolded herself. What was she thinking? She decided she didn't want to catch Lord Tvakan's eye with her appearance. Approaching the door to the room where the injured lord lay, she wondered if she could act casual, knowing Lafitte was still alive. She also wondered if he remembered that hot night they shared, and the promises they made. The heroine knew she'd blush talking to the Lord, but she resolved to get her emotions in check fast. After all, she couldn't avoid her fiancé forever, so she had to calm down, right now. Lyanna knocked on the door, called out a loud good morning, and asked if my lord had woken up yet. No answer came. Her Highness exhaled in relief, realizing the wounded man was still asleep, and decided to leave the tray by the closed door. Lyanna was about to set the tray down when the door to Lord Tvakan's room suddenly slammed open. The man himself appeared in the doorway. My lord asked if he'd startled her with his unexpected show. Lyanna assured him she was fine, but he shouldn't have strained himself to come out. He needed to rest. She explained she brought the tray so he wouldn't have to use his hurt arm. He said he'd take the tray, it's not heavy. Her Majesty protested, insisting he should take care of his shoulder. The guy asked if his fiancé really cared that much about his well-being. She replied that of course she was worried about her groom, and he said he was worried too. Lyanna looked baffled and quickly clarified she wasn't sick. The Lord said he meant your dress. In the Lord's room stood Feramos, who blurted out, "Looks like Her Highness only has one morning gown." The girl was flustered and lost for words, but managed to argue, "I have a few more black dresses, but not in the science wing." Feramos apologized for being tactless and asked if the Princess Kadlais had to wear this thing. The main heroine was nearly burning with shame over the remarks about her appearance. She admitted that, yeah, it probably was obvious how oversized the gown was, and how the fabric had faded in spots. Her Highness figured the Lord couldn't criticize her at all, considering he was half naked himself. She asked them to put themselves in her shoes. Tradition says you wear black until the funeral, and there's no time to order a new dress. The Lord's personal assistant apologized again and, voice trembling with shock, asked if she really intended to wear it for 3 days. The princess asked if there was a problem with her mourning attire or if it didn't meet Lord Tvakana's standards. Faramos mentally fumed. How could this princess only have knock on her mind to dress like this? Still, she didn't seem to choose the mourning dress to flirt. And besides, the Lord wasn't the type to fall for such tricks. Still, he was sure some parts of the dress were too revealing for his lordship to see. Suddenly, the Lord barked at his subordinate to shut up immediately. He told him if the dress didn't sit well, either stop looking at the lady, shut his eyes, or better yet, leave the room. As he left, the man spilled a bunch of apologies to the princess and begged her to take care of the Lord. Alone with the Lord, Lyanna wondered if she really looked that bad in the dress. She guessed that if she gained a few pounds, the outfit might look better, then stopped herself. Lyanna asked herself if she really wanted to look appealing to the Lord, who'd messed up Nock's peaceful life. Her Highness pushed all thoughts aside and focused on why she'd come here. Lyanna asked if His Highness wanted to start with breakfast or change the bandages. The Lord replied he'd prefer the bandages. For a moment, the girl was glad the fever had broken, and her fiancé's eyes were sharp again, just like when they first met. The only thing that saddened her was the fact that the Lord's face was once again emotionless and cold, like a statue. The wild look in his eyes and distant expression made the princess think the Lord didn't remember the passionate night they'd shared. She regretfully realized the Lord didn't remember the promises he'd made that night. Lyanna reached for the bandages but noticed they were so clean, like someone had just changed them. She noted there was no need for a new dressing, since the doctor must have visited him early in the morning. Lord Tvakan objected, saying it didn't matter. He wanted his bride to redress the wound if she could touch him. Lyanna agreed to redress the wound and pondered the significance of bringing up yesterday's conversation. It meant the Lord remembered that night, so he remembered the promises. But did it mean he'd keep them? Lyanna's mood darkened at the realization that she'd have to keep her promises too. She concluded the whole situation was odd. Why would the Lord ask to change the bandages if he'd just been dressed? The princess didn't even protest and obediently agreed to do as he asked. Lafitte stared out his uncle's castle window, silently repeating his lover's name, begging her to wait just a little longer. As she redressed the wound, Lyanna recalled seeing similar scars on Lafitte. They were scratches left by tree branches during a fast horse ride. Lyanna's mind flashed to a memory. Madame Flambite bandaging the Lord while he held the bride's hand. He complained to the princess about the pain like a little kid and begged her not to let go. Lyanna knew she had a ton of stuff to do, but her groom wasn't about to let up or release her hand. Over their time together, Lyanna had dreamed 1,000 times of begging Lafitte to let her walk away. No one ever thought things would go this way, but now the princess is tending to Lord Tvakan's wounds herself. The guy asked if the princess had checked everything, but she didn't catch his meaning. He clarified he wanted to know if she'd gotten a look at the bodies. She said she'd actually been in the chapel yesterday, since she'd felt it necessary to honor the fallen soldiers. The Lord didn't call her out for the lie. He pressed his palm to Lyanna's cheek and said he needed to clarify something about her promise. He reminded her that Her Highness had run into Firmos during the inspection, someone who's duty-bound to report everything to the Lord. Lyanna realized the Lord knew the body inside the commander of the Arsach Knight's armor wasn't Sir Lafitte's. He said he wanted their marriage to the princess to be honest and above board. Lyanna realized the cheek touch wasn't a sweet gesture. It was a warning. She told him she felt the same and was ready to cut all past ties and leave them in the dust. Lyanna realized that if she backed her ex, she'd be on a sinking ship, and that'd be the end of science. The princess's choice was clear, as Lord Tvakan pulled his bride in for a kiss right then. The girl had finally made up her mind. She'd accept Lord Tvakan's hand. He said he hadn't expected to show his loyalty that way, but hell, he liked it. The guy was about to say something about her outfit when she cut him off, saying she was done with the bandages. Lyanna accidentally brushed his wounded shoulder and spilled out apologies, insisting she didn't mean to hurt him. Lord Tvakan assured her it was fine. He hadn't even felt it. Besides, it was partly his fault for getting swept up in the moment. Her Highness noticed how red and puffy Lord Tvakan's lips were, just like yesterday. The girl thought Lord Tvakan looked hottest when fired up. She wanted him to always look at her with that fiery gaze. In that same second, Lyanna scolded herself for those dirty thoughts and pulled away, saying he could handle breakfast on his own. Her Highness wished Lord Tvakan a speedy recovery and headed for the door. Hours later, in the princess's chambers, Cerveros warned it was too risky to visit the Felters now. It had raised suspicions. The girl countered she could think of a dozen reasons why she needed to see the Grand Chancellor. The advisor guessed Lord Tvakan wouldn't like the news of the bride sneaking off to her ex's family. The girl said there was no need to worry now. Lord Tvakan knew Mr. Felter was alive. The man argued that was impossible. Neither the commander nor his troops knew what Sir Lafitte looked like. The princess explained they figured this out because they found a mismatch between the helmet and the armor. Sir Veraz pointed out Lord Tvakan and his assistant are shady types. You can't tell what they're really thinking. The princess said she remembers every word the Lord said when he laid the bloodstained groom's sword in front of her. The guy probably knew everything from the start, the girl concluded. Cerveros is right. Lord's a tricky, suspicious character. She clarified it's totally normal for a commander of an unbeatable army to keep secrets. Her Highness remembered a moment from their night together. Back then, they thought the Lord's power wasn't as endless as it seemed. She decided to stay sharp and never let her guard down. Cerveros asked what the real reason was for visiting the Felters. The main heroine said she planned to convince the Felter family they needed to run for their lives. The advisor tried to argue with the lady, but she cut him off. She said if she spilled the beans on the Lord, maybe she could stop this family. She promised it'd be better for both Naka and Lafitte. The man warned the lady would have to leave a lot of the past behind. The girl noted Lord Tvakan had always been lenient with the Felters, but now he's going to wipe out the whole clan. Her Highness said Lyndon Felter, like his whole family, would never back down. That's why they're trying to stop this pointless war. Cerveros warned this means the princess will never escape the barbarians' grip again. The princess replied she knows that full well, but she doesn't see another way out. Just then, Madame Flambe burst in, holding a cloak for the trip, and let out a scream when she saw the lady. She asked if the princess was really planning to mourn in that awful dress for the next 3 days, confirming the nanny's suspicion. Lyanna mentally noted that the triple hit of criticism about her looks had done serious damage to her self-esteem. The girl said she knew the dress looked awful, but couldn't do anything about it. She didn't have any other black clothes. Madame Flambe countered that it was the exact opposite. It was way too revealing and seductive. The woman reminded her that the last time the lady wore this dress was 5 years ago. She'd grown since then and lost weight in the last few months. She pointed out that Her Highness's mourning outfit looked like a newlywed's dress on their first wedding night. The nanny concluded the dress showed off her figure too much and said it was terrifying to imagine the princess looking like that in front of barbarians. Madame Flambe was most scared of Tivakana's army commander. He kept staring at the lady like he wanted to eat her alive. Cerveros got his share too. Madame Flambe fumed at why he'd spent so much time with the lady and didn't say a word to her. He replied that the princess always looked great. The maid huffed in annoyance and said you couldn't really expect anything else. Her Highness headed to the Felter family castle in a different dress, so the nanny declared she wouldn't let the lady wear an open outfit. Madame Flambe nearly forced the princess to change. Lyanna wondered if Lord Tvakan thought the princess had intentionally worn such a revealing dress. She glanced around and noticed a bunch of Tivakana soldiers nearby. Cerveros explained they were searching everywhere for the attacker. Lyanna mentally noted that this excuse was being used to search the entire Arsach castle. At moments like this, she can't help but wonder if the attack was staged. The advisor pointed out that if the Lord had been killed, everything would have gone completely differently. The princess nodded in agreement. She figured that in that scenario, all the residents of Nika would already be dead. Tivakana's army wouldn't have hesitated to strike back. Cerveros pulled up to the Felter estate and barked for the gates to open. Princess Lyanna, heir of House Arsach, had arrived. Lyndon Felter smirked, wondering if Her Highness had come all this way just to personally break the bad news. She didn't see a single trace of grief on the Grand Chancellor's face. That meant he knew his nephew was alive and well. The princess said she'd come to deliver a second message, one with better news. She announced the wedding to Lord Tivakana would happen in 10 days, and stressed how important it was for the Felters to attend. Having a major family in Nika at the event would show the public their alliance. Lyndon smirked, asking if Her Highness really thought anyone in the Felter family wanted to show up to their enemy's wedding. He declared the princess had lost her mind, proving it by accepting a marriage proposal from a savage. Lyanna shot back that refusing would have been the real madness. She said the bad news was delivered and turned to leave, wishing them a good time preparing for the funeral. Lyndon asked if the princess didn't think she should avenge her dead fiancé. Cut his head off, not marry him. He wondered if there wasn't enough brainpower in that pretty head of hers to realize the situation for what it was. Her Highness gave the Chancellor a hard time about watching his tongue. He added that the Naga soldiers give their lives, while Tivakana mercenaries hide in the shadows. He asked the princess to drop the act that she threw herself at the savages just for Naga. Lyndon guessed the princess never loved her nephew to begin with. She just wanted to use him for fun. When Lyndon called the girl a nobody with a cheap body, her emotions exploded. He grabbed a vase. He smashed it into the floor with everything he had, and the man figured the princess has a lousy attitude. She told him to tell the nephew that if he still wants to protect Naga, he better forget about revenge and just walk away. Lyndon noted the girl had changed in the last few years, now bolder, but still the same useless worm. He insisted the princess could talk all she wanted, but it didn't mean she could actually do a damn thing. Lyanna muttered she'd been too lenient. When she tossed that vase, she should have aimed for Lyndon's head instead of the floor. The man told her to take that attitude out on the savages, not in his house. Then he suggested she proved what she's capable of when someone took a shot below the belt. Her Highness screamed at him to shut his trap right then And that's when Sir Lafite walked in. He told his uncle to cut it out with the insults, and Lyndon got real mad. Why did the nephew step in when he was told to stay out? The guy said he couldn't just sit there as the Felter heir and take the abuse. Lyndon told him to cool it. He told them the Arsach heir had already turned on them, but Lafite begged his uncle to step out so he could have a moment alone with Lyanna. Lyndon did what the kid wanted, shaking his head at how dumb he was. Some woman wasn't even worth the trouble. The second the door shut, Lafite lunged at Lyanna, wrapping her in a tight hug. He kept murmuring the princess's name, pleading with her to hold on a little longer. Lyanna's heart ached at his shaky voice. She got it. He still needed time to say goodbye. Lafite rambled about how he failed her, didn't keep his word. The Shark Kingdom didn't show up, and she told him to leg it. She said that while Lord Tvakan was still sitting on his hands, Lord Felter had to get out of Nock fast. Lafite double-checked if she meant bailing solo. She said it was the only way to save them all. He asked what her plan was. She said Nock meant everything to her. That's why she was tying the knot with Lord Tvakan. Suddenly, Lafite exploded. "You can't protect Nock by ditching me!" She shot back. "It's the best move. Our families can't take on Tvakan." He grabbed the princess, screaming, "How could you be so stupid? Give everything to those savages and throw yourself in too!" Lyanna begged him to stop. It hurt. But he didn't care. He said he picked up some dirt on Lord Tvakan back in Shark Kingdom. They say he came here to get revenge. His folks were killed in Nock. Lyanna twisted free from Lafite's grip, using her agility and quick thinking, and declared this was total nonsense. She explained that if he wanted to conquer Nock, he'd start a war, not propose marriage. Plus, he could have taken the kingdom of Arsach's castle in days, not just siege it for a month. Lafite asked if she really thought a bloodthirsty barbarian would act rationally. She shot back that all of Nock was already under his control. If he wanted, he could have destroyed it right away. She mentioned the rumors about Tivakana being a homosexual, and Lafite asked how the princess knew the gossip was false. He guessed she'd already invited the lord to her bed, but she snapped, "None of your business." She declared she wouldn't spill about her business with her fiancé. Lafite shouted, "How can you call a barbarian your fiancé in front of me?" As Lyanna headed for the door, he fumed, "I can't accept your lover marrying someone else," and begged her to stop. Lyanna shot back, "What are you gonna do if I don't listen?" and sarcastically added, "Shoot me again, please?" She warned that if it came out Lafite had shot the lord, the whole Felter clan would vanish. She added Nock would erupt in a bloody storm and told her ex-fiancé to run. Instead of goodbye, the princess said, "This is the only way to save Nock." And Lafite slammed the door shut. The princess snapped, "What do you think you're doing?" And he demanded, "Answer me, do you love Lord Tvakan?" Lafite said it's obvious Nock is just an excuse. He guessed Lyanna's getting married because she's got deep feelings for the lord and wants to get back at her ex. The girl snickered and called that an insane guess, and the guy got seriously pissed, demanding answers. Lyanna shoved him off, saying she didn't think it had come to this. She said breaking up with Lafite and marrying Lord Tvakan are both heavy blows. She reminded him Nock means more to her than anything, so her ex should back off and let her go. Lafite yelled something after the princess, but she kept walking down the castle hall, not looking back. Walking through the Felter estate, Lyanna remembered her ex's question and wondered what she really felt for the lord. On one hand, she doesn't hate the groom. Hell, she even promised to want him badly. But on the other, the proposal came with bloodshed. Hardly a foundation for real feelings. Approaching the guards, she decided to ditch all thoughts of having feelings for Lord Tvakan. She asked where Sir Varys was, but they said they had no clue. The princess flipped out. How could that be? She'd said goodbye to him right here and told him to wait. She screamed the advisor's name a few times, but to no avail. Then she realized she was alone in this castle, no one with her. The princess declared she had to leave and ordered the guards to open the gates. They blocked Princess Lyanna's path, crossing their halberds and declaring they'd been ordered to guard these doors. She asked if that meant the guards wouldn't let her out. They said they were just doing their job. Lyanna fumed. "These guards obviously don't know who they're dealing with." She snapped, "Move out of the way. I'll handle the doors myself." Right then, Lyndon Felter stepped up and sneered, "What kind of ruckus is the princess causing in someone else's home?" He emphasized how the poor, unfortunate girl was all alone. Lyanna shot back, "What's even happening here?" Grand Chancellor Milrud muttered he'd been dwelling on recent events, but still couldn't make peace with them. Lyanna pressed, "What's this about?" The Chancellor replied, "I can't fathom why the princess handed power to the barbarians instead of our family." Suddenly, the girl spotted Grand Chancellor Milrud and called out, "What's your business outside the temple?" She guessed the priest had come to say a prayer for the fallen soldier's soul. Sir Lyndon smirked. "I invited him for the wedding ceremony, of course." The girl demanded, "Who's tying the knot?" The Grand Chancellor said, "The answer should be obvious by now." The man declared, "Today, the Arsach heir will pledge love and loyalty as the wife of the Felter heir." Lyanna realized she'd made a mistake, coming in secret with no backup. She admitted to herself the Grand Chancellor always had underhanded schemes, But this time, he'd really outdone himself. She blurted, "Is Lafayette even okay with this?" His uncle laughed. "Does the princess think he forgot he's dead?" The man solemnly announced the princess is to marry Loths, Lafitte's cousin. He said the princess might not even know about Lothus, since he's an illegitimate child. Lyndon explained he had no choice but to bring him. Felter's eldest son is dead. He assured the princess there's nothing to worry about. This guy looks just like his late cousin. The princess called the guy Lafitte and declared, "If your feelings were real, you wouldn't help destroy Nock." He replied he didn't get what the princess was talking about and told her to stop calling him by some stranger's name. The heroine tried to call out to her ex using his old name, but he didn't respond. He vowed to live his life with gratitude for getting such a beautiful princess as his wife. The guy said he hoped Her Highness would accept him as a husband, but she screamed that they were already over. He said everything could be easily fixed, leaned in close to her face, and whispered she'd finally be his wife. Lyanna shoved the persistent Lord Felter away and declared she'd never marry him. The new groom grabbed the princess again, clamped a hand over her mouth, and told her to shut up. Sir Lyndon Felter sighed in annoyance and told His Excellency to start getting ready for the ceremony. The guy said he'd recite the princess's vows and told the priest to start right now. His Excellency Milrud said today this lovebird couple wants to tie the knot at the altar. Lyanna fought hard, wriggling free from her groom's tight grip, even biting down until blood welled on his palm. But he didn't let go. When the priest declared the Arsach and Felter families now under divine protection, a loud crash echoed from the doors. Their Excellencies hesitated, asking what the problem was, but Lyndon ordered him to keep going immediately. The priest began the vows between the two lovers, but the crash kept going, and it only got louder. The Grand Chancellor ordered his soldiers to check out the noise. A demand to open the door rang out. Then a second later, the blade of a massive battle axe. The heroine's eyes widened as she realized the voice from behind the closed door felt familiar. She knew only her groom had such a deep, powerful voice. Fermos said Lord Felter clearly wasn't opening the door, so he suggested just breaking it down. Lord Tvakan agreed with his aide and gave the order to destroy it. The princess felt her groom's presence nearby and kept screaming his name non-stop. The crashing didn't stop, sending panic, shock, and swearing through the crowd. Laffit, hiding under another name, asked his uncle if he honestly planned to treat uninvited guests as enemies. The guy screamed it was wrong, but Lyndon said there was no time for arguments. He ordered the young man to hide immediately. Things would only get worse if the uninvited guests saw his face. The Chancellor ordered the soldiers to take the nephew to a secret hideout. As Lafitte struggled against the guards, Lyndon told the princess she might be a cheap hussy, but she wasn't an idiot. He said it was up to her whether she wanted to turn science into a battlefield. Fermos reported to his lord that the axe wasn't needed anymore. The door's barrier had already been removed. He guessed the Felter family didn't want to fight, and Lord Tvakan had opened the doors himself. When he showed up, Lyanna's eyes filled with tears. She realized she was crying from happiness. The Great Chancellor asked what business brought them to his castle, and guessed it must be urgent. Guests didn't usually try to break down doors. The man sneered that decent, polite people don't act like that. That's a stunt only real savage mutts would pull. The main heroine couldn't hold back and screamed at Lyndon to watch his mouth. Lord Tvakan ignored the insult and demanded to know why Lyndon Felter had been hiding like a rat in the hills. The man ranted that nobody had the right to care what he did behind closed doors, in his own home. The Lord stepped closer and shot back. "Doesn't matter if it's a house or a den. If you've got my bride, you don't shut the door." The Great Chancellor's body shook so violently, his legs collapsed under him. Lyndon Felter crumpled to the floor. His pathetic, broken look convinced Lord Tvakan to let him rot alive. The young man walked up to his bride and admitted he'd come here for one reason: to take her. He asked how Lyanna was feeling, if she was hurt. She thought back that she was emotionally wounded. Hell, she was shaking with rage. The girl said she just handed the family the heir's death notice. Nothing dangerous happened after that. Lord suggested that if the princess was done with her business, they could head home. Fermos bristled at the decision. "Come on, everyone knows the Felters are the richest family in Nock." The Lord's assistant chimed in. It'd be nice to stick around for a cup of tea. He announced that Lord Tvakan himself had arrived at the Felter estate, the man who will soon be co-ruler of Nock. Fermos said the master of the house should show some hospitality to such esteemed guests, or people would think he's got a screw loose. Lord Felter wasn't thrilled by the assistant's remark. He spotted the priest and asked, "What's he doing here instead of the temple?" The guy asked his master, since His Holiness was here, why not discuss the royal wedding details? Lyanna told her fiancé she wanted to delay talking to the priest. Today's just wiped her out. She asked her fiancé to go home now, and mentally added she didn't want any discussions right now. Lord noted that was odd. She was definitely hiding something, but he didn't want to press here. She thought to herself that if Tivakana started digging into this, Nock was in for a rough ride. Lord pulled his bride close and promised to head home together, as she wanted. He barked at Fermos. "You stayed behind and got the reception meant for Lord Tvakan. My lord also assigned his subordinate to negotiate with his grace. Lord Tvakan told the bride they could go now. She figured she was somehow close to the guy she was supposed to hate and fear. The heroine rode home to the castle with her fiancé and offered to take the reins. The girl said she knew his injured shoulder might still ache, but he replied it didn't bother him. He couldn't rest, wondering where the princess's blood came from and if she was really hurt. Lyanna said the blood got on her by accident, but wasn't hers. The lord was shocked to hear that. He didn't get how you accidentally get blood on your lips, so he asked to see them. My lord remembered the bride's face in Felter Castle the moment he first opened the door. He said he didn't buy her excuses and asked her highness to open her mouth. When she complied, he leaned in and gave her a French kiss. He ended the tender kiss and seriously declared there was no wound. He said they could keep going, and the heroine couldn't catch her breath after such a romantic move. The lord wanted to know how the princess ended up alone in the Felter mansion. The girl argued it wasn't exactly true. Sir Veraz was with her, but he'd vanished. Suddenly, a realization hit her like lightning. Her advisor wasn't the type to vanish without a word. Lyanna shouted that the guy's definitely in trouble or trapped. She told her fiancé that Sir Veros is one of the few people she completely trusts. She realized she couldn't live if something happened to the advisor. The princess begged them to speed up so she could send knights from the palace to rescue him. The lord said it wasn't needed and snapped his fingers, calling the guards. He ordered them to go back and tell Farimos to track down the commander, Naka. Lyanna thanked him. He said he had to. He couldn't do any less. She leaned into him, realizing why she felt so calm and safe with him. He listened, checked her wounds, and soothed her fears like a real love-struck groom. Later, the princess asked Sir Maithlo to help ready a wedding gift for the groom. He reminded her that Lord Tvakan promised to handle the wedding prep himself. She argued that a wedding gift for the groom isn't part of the logistics. He questioned why they needed to show barbarians courtesy with a wedding gift. Lyanna pointed out she'd already gotten her gift, so she couldn't not return the favor. She declared the bride's gift had to match his. Sir Maithlo said there's not much gold left in the gift chest. The girl was furious. How could that be? It hadn't even been that long since they'd gotten it. The advisor reminded her that under the debt agreement, all the income belongs to Lord Felter, the royal family's biggest creditor. The girl was in shock, but the man started explaining how after the king died, a terrible drought hit, and the crops got infected. Lyanna snapped at him to stop repeating what she already knew. After the king died, she was basically alone. No one else was around except Madame Flambe and Sir Veros. People were starving in the kingdom, and the terrible drought had dried up every river. The situation was a nightmare, but none of the noble families offered help. Only Lord Felter reached out with an offer, but the terms were so humiliating the princess couldn't accept. She was trying to find a way to save the kingdom herself, even if it meant bankrupting the royal family. But no matter how hard she tried, another setback hit. Famine and drought kept wrecking everything. The heroine had no choice but to sign Sir Lyndon's contract and chain the royal family forever. Lyanna was furious. Why had Sir Maithlo handed all the gifted gold to the Felters without asking? He said he was just following the rules, but Lyanna figured he was thinking with his wallet. Better to stick with a wealthy family. Her Highness realized he'd done it on purpose, to keep them from wasting money on a starving kingdom. Lyanna guessed Sir Maithlo probably took a cut for himself and asked, was there really no gold left for gifts? The advisor said he could borrow from Lord Felter. Sure, the man doesn't approve of the marriage, but he's a generous guy. Princess said no need for that, told Sir Maithlo to just walk away. She started crying, realizing she'd looked like a shameless wretch in Lord's eyes. After he'd spent a fortune on the wedding, she couldn't even offer a proper wedding gift. Already sold everything she had of value. Now she's got zip. But then it hit her. There was one thing she could still give Lord Tvakan. That same evening, Madame Flambeche and the princess headed to the storage room, opened one of the trunks. The maid grumbled about how dusty it was. The girl marveled they'd kept her late father's coronation robes all these years. She confessed to Madame Flambe she'd given up hope of finding a wedding gift, had sold everything she owned before. Lyanna said it just needed a little tweaking to work as her wedding attire. Madame Flambe pointed out the embroidery was still intact. She muttered she'd have to do some work to make the king's coronation clothes fit Lord Tvakan properly. Madame Flambe sighed, said if you cleaned the coat right, it'd be like new. Lyanna admitted she feared Madame Flambe would scold her for handing down such a family treasure to someone unworthy. The woman exhaled sharply, concluded her words wouldn't change a thing. This wedding was happening no matter what. She said, let him be a barbarian without manners, but on your wedding day, he's gotta look the part. Her Highness choked back tears, felt something twist in her chest at those words. The nanny assured me she didn't mean to upset the lady. She just found the moment touching. Lyanna admitted this conversation got her thinking about her relationship with my lord. I mean, it all started on such a bad note. But through all their time together, he's never once been rude to his bride. After that visit to the Felters, he was actually worried she might have gotten hurt. The guy she thought was her true love? Total disaster. Lord Tvakan came all the way to Felter Castle to get the princess. Honestly, it felt like a weight had been lifted. Lyanna told the nanny the groom looks scary as hell, but that's just his vibe. Doesn't mean he is. Madame Flambe summed it up. Lord Tvakan's got the right stuff to wear that outfit. The nanny whispered, "My lord's actually pretty good looking." Lyanna snorted, and the woman added, "Hey, barbarians aren't banned from looks." She clarified she'll get on the outfit as soon as she's done with the princess's morning dress. She mentioned she'll have the measurements ready by then. Just wants to be useful. Lyanna figured she didn't spill the Felter's drama to Madame Flambe. The woman would have fainted. The princess walked into Lord Tvakan's room and asked if he had a sec. When she saw him, the princess froze, lost for words. Lord Tvakan snapped her out of it by calling her name a few times. She said she wanted to talk wedding dress details with her groom. He told his knights to skedaddle. She noted to herself, here they were, alone again. Lord Tvakan gave her his full attention, all ears for his bride. Lyanna told her fiancé she wants to make a wedding outfit for him. She admitted she knows it's not much for a gift, but it's the best she can do for now. Lord asked his bride not to overdo it, and Lyanna told him not to worry because she's not sewing from scratch. The princess explained she needed to take measurements to adjust the wedding outfit. She asked Lord to lift his arms since she'd start with the upper body. She measured his wrist to elbow, but when she tried the shoulder width, she noticed a strong tremor. Lyanna realized they were in the exact position they first kissed. The awkward silence flustered her, and she thought she should have had Madame Flambeau take the measurements. But she remembered she didn't want to sit around doing nothing, and announced she'd start with the neck, while Lord hesitated slightly. He wanted to clarify if her moves were a hint she was ready to fulfill her promise to passionately long for him. Lyanna answered she didn't mean anything by it, just wanted the measurements. She wondered why she felt so weird, and what Lord would do if there was a real sign of passion. Princess measured his chest and told him to hold still. She thought, no matter what he did, they'd both feel awkward and shiver. She realized this would happen more than once, so she couldn't keep second-guessing herself. She needed to get used to Lord. Princess said she was moving on to the waist measurement, and he grabbed her hand. The guy asked if it'd be a big deal if he shifted around. He didn't want to stand still. The girl was stunned. "Why do you need to move? What are you trying to do?" Lord grinned. "Plenty of options to pick from right now." His hand slid through her hair. Lyanna protested she was swamped with wedding prep, but he kept stroking her arm. He whispered, "You can't spare me a minute, princess," then pulled her close. Lord murmured it was a huge mistake to let things slide, and his lips crashed into hers. She thought, hell yeah, same here. Regret swirled over all the wasted time. Princess broke the kiss. "We need to stop, Lord," she said. "On 3, we take a step back." But when she hit 3, something happened. Pheromos burst into the room. "Back! And I found something interesting." He took one look at them, boxed in opposite corners of the ring, then sensed the heat between them. The Lord's aide hesitated. "Should I come back later?" Princess snapped. "No!" She assumed she was in the way, bothering the Lord and his advisor, but Pheromos shook his head. "She needs to stay. This is about her." He reminded them that Lord Tavakana's men were searching for Cerveros at Her Highness's request. Hearing the name, the princess bombarded Pheromos with questions. Where was the advisor? How was he feeling? What had happened to him? The guy regretfully concluded that Cerveros was missing. Lyanna asked if that meant the man wasn't at Felter Castle. He replied that it looked that way. He can't just disappear without a trace. There should be blood or some evidence left behind. Pheromos reiterated that everything was clean. And from the owner's reaction to the search, he wasn't hiding anything or anyone. Lyanna theorized that during the sudden ceremony, Lyndon Felter locked her advisor in the dungeon. The Lord's assistant said he'd thought that too, but the castle investigation points the other way. The main heroine couldn't believe Cerveros would just up and leave on his own. He'd been there for years through all the ups and downs. She wondered if maybe there was a reason he hadn't shared with the royal family. At these thoughts, the princess's head swam, and her legs buckled. The Lord caught her just in time and told her to sit down. Pheromos said he understood the princess's distress, but warned her not to get too worked up. He warned that fainting and stress could lead to serious consequences. The girl remembered she'd lied about being pregnant. This ruse was meant to protect Naka's sovereignty. That's why Her Highness decided to keep playing the pregnant card till the end. Pheromos mentioned he had good news. Sir Lyndon had ordered a wedding gift for the princess. A new bed, 2 chests of gold, and 5 servants will arrive soon. Lyanna was stunned by the generosity of their sworn enemy. She figured Lord Felter would curse her out, not hand over wedding gifts. Pheromos bragged about his smooth-talking skills. Sir Lyndon agreed to play nice and act decent. The girl wondered. This gift's worth way more than the gold chest Sir Lyndon swiped. Pheromos took mental notes on the princess's reaction to the news and the fancy present. Now, he got why the Felters are the kingdom's richest family despite the poverty. He mused that Lord's usually icy heart must have thawed over this, though the man's no softy. He added the gift wasn't free. Sir Lyndon wanted the illegitimate kid officially recognized as a felter. The girl was stunned. The Lord watched her reaction like a hawk. Pheromos said he stayed quiet. This was the princess's call. He said that's all he dug up. The princess thanked him and turned to leave. Left alone with the Lord, the advisor asked, "What are your plans for Her Highness?" He figured the Lord already put 2 and 2 together. The moment the heir dies, an illegitimate kid pops up. Pheromos said it was obvious. The princess rode to Felter Castle to reunite with her lover. He declared the Lord couldn't ignore the bride still had feelings for Lafitte. The Lord said there's some truth there, but that doesn't mean the princess is lying or setting up the future husband. The assistant asked the Lord if he was just going to sit back and let Lafitte keep playing the cousin act. The Lord explained the Felter family was doomed anyway, so why not lay some traps while they could? He figured there was still plenty of value to squeeze out of that family, so they needed to push as hard as possible. Pheromos smirked and promised to milk them dry, then wipe him off the face of the earth the second the Lord gave the word. Lord wondered if Lyanna had really gone to the castle to see her lover, pretending it was about delivering condolences. He couldn't figure out where the princess got that blood on her lips. That was what started the whole romantic inspection thing in the first place. Lord kept asking why Lyanna didn't turn down the kiss to check for injuries, and if she was actually trying to go through with the promise to accept him. Maybe the princess was just faking it to protect the guy she loves. He remembered her trembling fingers, the slight flush in her cheeks, and those eyes full of passion and desire. He'd used torture more times than he could count to get the truth, so he knew a body never lied. Still, doubts gnawed at him. What if the princess had actually faked every little physical reaction just to mess with him? The princess announced that Captain of the Guard, Sir Veros, had gone missing and ordered the knights to hunt him down. She remembered Pheromos' words that the advisor probably left of his own free will, and started wondering if there was some hidden reason for his sudden disappearance. The girl was torn up about whether he'd ever come back. And if he didn't, who the heck could she trust in this castle? Madame Flamebat knocked on the princess's quarters and said she brought sewing supplies, the wedding dress, and a gown. She stitched up some parts of the dress and added a collar, so it looks more like morning clothes now. Lyanna thanked the nanny for the hard work and said she'd taken some measurements. The woman started comparing them to the wedding outfit and gaped at how much needed fixing. She fumed about how a lord with such broad shoulders even manages to pick out clothes. Madame Flambeau asked the lady if she had taken the measurements correctly. Lyanna couldn't think of a good response because she remembered how nervous and shaky she'd been at the time. Madame Flambeau mentioned she'd never seen numbers like that before. She speculated how nice it must be to sink into the arms of a man with such broad shoulders. The maid blushed, turned as red as a tomato, and begged the lady to pretend she hadn't heard anything. The princess smiled and figured it was just the nanny's reaction to working with fancy clothes again after so long. The woman was relieved the lady was so understanding and declared the cloak needed trimming and more fabric added to the collar and shoulders. She got in the groove and suggested adding a belt to the wedding outfit and using the same fabric on the bottoms of the pants. Lyanna agreed and told herself the nanny had the best sewing skills, so she was into working on a quality outfit. Madame Flambeau asked what pant length to make, and the princess panicked again, but she found the courage to admit she hadn't measured the Lord's leg length. The woman was furious. How could someone forget to take these measurements? What if the pants end up too short? Lyanna confessed to herself she just couldn't stop thinking about the Lord's kiss. She was absolutely charmed by him. Madame Flambette said they needed to take the measurements again. There was a risk the wedding dress wouldn't fit at all. Lyanna doubted she could do it. The nanny asked curiously, "Is the lady really not wanting to deal with the Lord again?" She said she couldn't stand seeing the princess's sad face and offered to take the measurements herself. Lyanna tried to stop the nanny, insisting it wasn't about disliking the groom. The woman was dead set on her plan and promised the lady she'd be right back. Lyanna found herself wondering, was it really so hard to believe she didn't hate the groom, but had weird feelings for him? Just then, Madame Flambette called out to the princess, saying she hadn't caught up with the Lord. He'd already left. For some reason, the lady sighed in relief and lit up with a smile. The nanny suddenly asked, "How many days till the wedding?" Lyanna replied, "The wedding's in 10 days. 10 days after the funeral, which is tomorrow." The nanny asked, "Does this date line up with your cycle?" Taken by surprise, the girl pricked her finger with a needle. The nanny said, "Need to clean that up ASAP." Lyanna shot back fiercely, but it wasn't about the cut. She just realized she couldn't get caught so soon. Madame Flambe noted she didn't know politics, so didn't get whether lying to the Lord about being pregnant was necessary. Her Highness explained it was vital to stop Lord Tvakan from grabbing total control over Nakan. The princess asked if there was a way to hide the pregnancy. The nanny said it could work only if the couple slept in separate rooms. She reminded them the first wedding night required sticking to ancient customs. Lyanna figured the only way out was skipping the first wedding night altogether, but the barbarian groom would never go for that. She decided to cook up some pregnancy excuse, though that brute probably wouldn't let anything stop him. Madame Flambe leapt to her feet when someone knocked. She assumed the master had come back. The nanny told the princess to straighten herself out while she went to answer the knock. A blood-curdling scream rang out. Lyanna spun around and saw Lafitte. He called out he'd been eavesdropping and wanted to know if she was actually carrying someone's kid under her heart. She screamed at the guy being nuts, storming in like this when Lord Tvakan would find out everything. She ordered Lafitte to leave right now. He said he wouldn't budge until she answered, "Who's the father?" Lyanna bristled. Shouldn't he know better? Her ex-fiancé shot back that he'd been gone 2 weeks and hadn't seen the truth for himself. At that moment, Madame Flambe knew for sure Master Felter was alive. The princess told her to take a break. Lafitte bellowed he had to hear it from the princess herself. Then she realized he just wanted to confirm things for himself. He wanted to know if she'd told the barbarian brute that Lafitte was her first guy, and that she still belonged to him. The girl shot back, "That's not how it is. It's just a lie to get out of the engagement." The royal had had enough and declared flat out they're getting hitched to Lord Tvakan. The marriage will produce an heir. That kid takes the Arsach name and becomes the legal ruler of Naka. Leif called her out. "You just said you lied like a minute ago." He figured, even if it was true, do you really think some wild brute would leave a stranger's kid alive? The princess said they signed a marriage contract. Every detail's in black and white. Leif roared, "Do you seriously think a scrap of paper can't be torn to shreds any second?" Madame Flambeau was eavesdropping on the ex-lovers. She flinched when the ex-fiancé dropped that Lord Tvakan came to Naka for revenge. She told Leif, "Don't try to sell me rumors like they're facts. I know the real story. Tvakan didn't care about contracts. He could smash the gates, storm the castle, and slaughter the guards. He could drag the princess to a priest and make her his wife in a heartbeat." She saw the bite mark on her ex's hand and remembered how he'd forced her into marriage. Lyanna realized Leif was the real barbarian, while Lord Tvakan treated his bride like a proper gentleman the whole time. The princess snapped, "I'm not your girlfriend anymore. I'm your mistress, and I order you out of the castle, now!" Leif was about to argue, but a servant burst in. "Lord Tvakan's back!" Lyanna shouted at her future ex-fiancé, "We need to hide, right now!" and shoved him toward the balcony. Lafitte dug in his heels. "I'm not running like some coward." But the princess snapped, "Be silent or I can't save you. My mercy's got limits," she growled. "You pick, stay quiet as a mouse, or get torn apart like a dog." Madame Flambe's trembling voice reported to the lady, "Lord Tvakan is already at the chambers." "What's the emergency?" the lord asked his bride. "They said it was urgent business with me." The girl shrugged. "Nothing big. Just realized I need to take more measurements while working on your outfit." The princess asked, "Can my lord handle this now?" He frowned. "So it's just about the measurements that summoned me here?" The lord scowled and ordered the bride to get to work. She barked at the nurse, "I'll take the damn measurements myself." As Lyanna leaned in close, she caught a whiff of sweat and smirked. "You really did rush here, huh?" The lord admitted, "I thought you had serious business with me." While Lyanna mentally noted how odd that was, she figured he'd been desperate to see his future bride, rushing headlong just to catch a glimpse of her. The princess defended herself. "It's crucial for the Tvakan clan. We can't rework the outfit without the measurements. If I'd known you wanted me just for this," the guy muttered, "I'd have taken my sweet time." The lord guessed she'd avoid him because of his stench, but Lyanna shot back. "It's not that bad. All I caught was a musky scent like meat," she said. "Honestly, it's kinda hot." The girl asked him to let go. She needed to take measurements, but the lord couldn't and begged for a few more seconds. The princess got worried and asked what was wrong. He said he'd been stressing over one message. The lord said he'd been told that Felter family's illegitimate son, Lofer, had come to the palace. He added that he later got a message saying the princess was looking for him. Connecting the dots, he knew something was up. The lord asked the bride again if she'd really called him in just for measurements. The girl wondered why the lord didn't believe her excuse. Was he onto her or just testing her? Lyanna guessed the groom was toying with her, maybe pushing her to spill everything before he cracked open the window. The heroine realized she had to save Lafitte somehow. He couldn't hide forever. She imagined the worst. Her ex losing his balance and falling, or someone spotting him from the street. She told the lord she had called him for measurements, but they couldn't do it alone in this room. She explained Madame Flambe was in here, and she couldn't kick her out. It was the only room with all the sewing stuff. Lyanna suggested moving to the next room. The lord agreed and joked he was intrigued by this turn of events. He muttered he didn't know how the measurements in another room would end up. The girl had no idea what he meant. The moment the door slammed, the lord lunged at his bride, pressing her against the wall and kissing her fiercely. Seconds later, he wrapped his arms around her waist, lifted her up, and kissed her neck hungrily. But the girl told him to stop, so Lord asked if the position was uncomfortable or if she wasn't into it. The heroine admitted she was a bit scared, so the guy lowered her to the ground and figured he'd moved too fast. Lord noticed the girl was upset about something, bent down to look into her eyes, and asked if she was okay. The groom's gaze flustered Lyanna so much, she covered his eyes with her hands in alarm. The princess asked why the guy looked that way. He explained her expression clearly said something was wrong. The girl realized she'd acted weird for some reason. Even though she wasn't kissing Lord for the first time, she promised to take her hands away if Lord stopped staring at her like that. He replied that if that was the issue, he'd stop. Lord admitted, feeling the princess's touch on his eyes was pleasant. It meant she wasn't avoiding him anymore. He noted he'd forgive the bride today, and turn a blind eye to the fact that an illegitimate Felter son is hiding in the next room. Lyanna said it made sense. After all, the Lord oversees the castle's security, so of course he was told someone had entered. He picked up the measuring tape from the floor, and suggested getting back to work, asking exactly what she needed to measure. Farmos reported in a dejected tone that he'd carried out the master's order. Lord asked what was wrong with his assistant. He replied that he had considered it a great opportunity to eliminate the Felter family. The subordinate thought to himself, it was the first time he'd seen the boss so unable to control his expression. He recalled it all started when they were told a Felter rat had sneaked into the Arsach castle. The Lord's face went rigid when he realized the rat had sneaked into the princess's chamber. Faramos figured, how could a girl bring a boyfriend into her own room when she's got a fiancé? He thought the Lord's kindness toward the lady would end after this, but it didn't. The guy couldn't tell if the lady was lucky or sharp, and whether her innocent face was real or just a mask. Faramos reported the rat made it back to his hole, and his head's still attached. He added the kid was running around the castle like his life didn't matter. From his behavior, clear he's not letting the princess go. The personal assistant asked the Lord if he was just gonna ignore what happened. He said this time, yeah. The assistant said he didn't get the Lord's decision. Faramos clarified the problem wasn't just the bride cheating. It was her lover being tied to the Shark Kingdom. He said the Lord knows damn well not to ignore the Felters, so why this call? The Lord said he was paid. The assistant guessed only Sir Lyndon Felter could have done it. Faramos thought that made sense. He's the richest in the kingdom, though a cheap jerk. The Lord said the princess paid? The assistant blinked and asked if they're talking about that broke girl. Faramos was shocked the Lord would look the other way, knowing he'd usually spill blood. My Lord smiled, remembering how hefty the payoff was. The assistant warned that if the Lord stayed so soft, it'd all start again. The Lord objected, insisting it wouldn't happen again. The Lord declared he knew because the princess hadn't called her lover. He added her heads not just for show. She'd never call both her lover and fiancé at the same time. The assistant said it was a logical conclusion. But if the princess was truly innocent, that didn't mean she'd always get away with it. The Lord admitted he once thought the princess was just part of the game, a beautiful prize for claiming the kingdom. The guy figured Lyanna and Lafitte had been lovers for a while. They couldn't just cut their feelings off, especially since the princess's secret lover was also the biological father of her child. He realized the bride was desperately trying to hide her lover. She'd gone so far as seducing the groom, which wasn't like her at all. Then my Lord gave in to passion and lost his mind. Because no matter the inheritance or benefits, he wanted that girl. The Lord decided he'd take everything back, including the heart stolen by Felter's eldest son. Faramos was thrilled the old ruthless master was back, and everything was back to normal. He added, if the Lord voiced his true intent, he'd take it seriously and do everything to protect the princess. He swore that Rat would never get another chance. One night, Lyanna tossed and turned in bed, trying to sleep but couldn't. Funeral thoughts were tearing at her soul. She'd promised herself to stay strong, so the whole hiding her ex in the castle thing gnawed at her. The girl couldn't figure out why Lord was pretending to know nothing when he clearly did. That looks like betrayal from the groom. You can't just ignore a mistake like that. The princess wondered if maybe Lord was toying with her, or if he'd actually looked the other way this time. She was curious. Did this mean she'd become important to Lord? The princess decided to fetch her own water for washing up. The servants were still asleep, and as she walked to the well, she kept thinking about Lord. Lyanna thought the groom had chosen to mess with her. Hussein would ignore everything over a touch. Lord Tvakan obviously wouldn't do that. He's the guy who took the castle and proposed with dozens of knights' blood. As the princess reached the well, a man's voice called out to her. It was Hyde, Sir Voros' squire. He told her not to panic. He'd been waiting forever for someone to come get the princess water. She asked what Hyde was doing there so late. He said he was ordered to sneak a message to her. Hyde admitted Sir Voros sent it. Then the princess started hounding him about the advisor's condition. Hyde sighed, saying he didn't know anything else, but that the advisor had left knock. He said he had little time, and asked her to listen carefully to what Sir Voros wanted him to say. Hyde whispered the message. Don't trust him. His goal was revenge. The girl froze in shock, but Hyde added that the man had said she needed to understand everything. The main character started to wonder if Sir Voros actually overheard Lafitte saying Lord Tivakana's revenge was what drove him. Seems like the guy sent a message warning her to stay sharp and delay the wedding until he returned with all the secrets uncovered. In her bedroom, Lyanna kept puzzling over why the advisor suddenly left without a warning. She figured the underling bought Lafitte's story. Too bad she didn't back then. No, she wrote it all off as jealousy. It was hard to swallow that Cerberus was telling the truth. So why hadn't Lord Tvakan satisfied his thirst for revenge by beheading him? Maybe he's after a harsher, more painful end for science, wants to wipe him off the map. Lyanna realized all those sweet touches and kisses were just smoke and mirrors, meant to confuse and mess with her head. The next morning, the main character stayed lost in thought. Her musings about the Lord were cut short by the nursemaid's soft voice. The woman freaked out when she saw the lady gnawing her nails like a little kid. She pointed out the terrible shape and said a few snips with the clippers would fix it. The girl told the nurse to go ahead. Nobody cares about her nails. Madame Flambette said it's not about the nails, it's the hands. She said hands that run a whole kingdom need to be beautiful and clean-cut. Lyanna was done with this impromptu manicure. She snatched her finger back, saying that was enough. Then, her finger suddenly lit up with sharp pain. Blood splattered onto her dress. Madame Flambette moaned that it was a deep cut, and it was all her fault. But the princess insisted it wasn't that bad. She reminded them they still had to prepare. The funeral's coming soon. But the maid pointed out that at least the bleeding needs to stop. The servant promised to be right back with some antiseptic for the finger, and Lyanna sank back into her thoughts. Her wounded finger throbbed, and the pain pushed her to think again about the Lord who wants to avenge science. She had no idea what to do. The groom's fake kindness was just a game to grab the kingdom. When the funeral procession was about to leave, the maid told Her Highness she fixed the dress, but one problem remained. Lyanna asked, curious what it was. And Madame Flambeau clarified that the princess was still beautiful, and there's nothing to fix. Lyanna snapped that this was no time for flattery. Madame argued the barbarian's wild eyes were the real issue. The maid warned the lady to stay cautious, and Lyanna headed over to Lord Tvakan. She figured Madame was just toasting her with the praise. Lord Tvakan looked way better in black than she did. He noted the princess's mourning clothes had changed. She replied the maid had altered them. He said the dress looked great on the bride, and offered to mount up, since they should ride together. Lyanna figured it was a terrible idea. She still remembered how the last horse ride with him ended. Lyanna declared she'd ride alone, since she had her own horse ready. Lord Tvakan argued it'd be safer this way. Arrows could be flying in from anywhere. He promised he'd catch any threats faster if they rode together. She finally agreed. The Lord smoothly lifted Her Highness and placed her on the horse, but she was surprised. Her fiancé had only recently wounded his shoulder. Lyanna worried the wounds must still be fresh. He might be strong, but it'd probably hurt. They set off, and the princess noticed how strange it was. Lord could do everything perfectly, whether riding or kissing. But Lyanna remembered what Hyde said, and decided not to lose her head, or let her guard down. When they reached the temple, the Lord extended his hands toward the bride and offered to help her dismount. She thought to herself that she'd totally blank on how to get down. But wow, this place was high up. A massive staircase led to the temple. The tough climb was part of honoring the divine. The princess and Lord started up the stairs, but a priest and his deacons blocked their way. She was shocked the clergy had come down. They never showed up here, not with this brutal climb. The head priest announced he was delivering His Holiness's decree to Arsach's heir. She wasn't allowed at these funerals. He added that while the princess was with someone defying the divine's will, she couldn't step foot on temple grounds. Lyanna asked, "Does His Holiness mean my fiancé?" She scoffed. "That's ridiculous. It's clearly Sir Lyndon Felter saying that, not some holy man." She realized they were trying to cut her off from Naka and demanded the kingdom's sovereign be unblocked. Now, the priest replied, "No kings among the clergy except the divine. I follow only the archpriest's orders." The princess demanded to speak directly with the high priest, but the man refused. Explaining he was occupied with funeral preparations, he added that the ban could be lifted if she annulled her engagement and left the one who defied the gods. Then the temple would welcome her back. Lyanna knew if she left now, rumors would spread that Princess Nika had been charmed by a barbarian and abandoned the gods. That would surely serve as the perfect excuse to strip the defiant monarch of his throne. Her Highness declared that if the high priest refused to come down and was hiding like a coward in the temple, she'd go to him instead. The priests erupted, claiming the gods would reject such rudeness and demand reverence. But the Lord stopped his bride. He explained they shouldn't go, since the goal was to provoke her into climbing up there herself. My lord speculated the high priest had something planned, and warned her not to go unless she knew what awaited above. Lyanna agreed her groom was right, turned around, and heard the priest's distraught shout. There was definitely a trap up there. Turns out, Lord Felter planned to openly ignore the royal family. That move reads like a declaration of war. Back when the castle was under siege, their enemy was clearly Lord Tvakan. Now, Lyanna couldn't tell who had the real bad intentions. Lost in thought, Lyanna didn't watch where she stepped and tripped, but the Lord caught her in time. She thanked him and wondered, was he friend or foe? He always showed care and concern, but the question gnawed at her. Why was her groom so kind? Was this some twisted revenge? At the top of the stairs, Sir Lyndon and his son screamed in disbelief. This couldn't be happening. He couldn't believe this barbarian was actually smart enough to figure out someone was setting a trap. Mr. Lyndon fumed. How had that damned devil, Lord Tvakan, somehow figured it out? Turns out he's not entirely brainless after all. Lafitte said to his uncle that it was actually better the trap didn't go off. If the princess had been hurt, it would have turned into a full-blown crisis. Ultimately, the Felter family could have been exiled from Naka. Sir Lyndon sighed in frustration. They'd just missed a golden opportunity to kill the barbarian leader. The young man pointed out that the people of Naka loved the princess with a passion. So if she'd died, there'd be no stopping the rebellion. The uncle asked his nephew, "Still got feelings for that fallen woman, huh? Sounds like you're defending her pretty fiercely." Lafitte told his uncle to watch his mouth. He hasn't even realized what she did for her ex-lover. He stood uncertainly on the windowsill. Could have jumped any second. The boy heard Lyanna's whisper, urging Lord Tvakan to move to another room. Lafitte realized those words were meant to give him a chance to escape. So the princess threw herself into the line of fire just to save her ex-fiancé's life. She's too noble to confess her love to another man while she's engaged. This move meant hope was still alive. Their feelings could reignite, and Lyanna had just fallen under that authoritarian lord's grip. The chancellor groaned. This nonsense was giving him a migraine. His nephew was done for. The kid shot back that he'd only just started seeing clearly. Mr. Lyndon smirked. What's the lunatic gonna do when the princess ties the knot with that savage? The guy shrugged. Felter family would just have to bite their elbows and take it. The man laughed. 10 days left before the wedding. Lafitte gritted his teeth. I'll stop this no matter what it takes. Lord Tvakan and Lyanna rode hard back to the castle. The young man spotted a fresh cut on her hand. How'd you get that? She waved it off. No big deal. Got distracted holding scissors. He deadpanned. You need new scissors. Lyanna winced. She couldn't justify replacing something as basic as manicure shears. By now, the main characters had already reached the Arsach palace. The princess thanked the nobleman for the ride and said she had to go. The lord hesitated for seconds, then bolted forward and finally caught up to Lyanna. He asked how important it was to her that she missed the funeral. Then he figured it must be a big problem. The girl said, "You're right about that. People would be really disappointed in a monarch who ignores the memory of soldiers who gave their lives for him." She said there's no way things will go well after this, and the Grand Chancellor won't forget. He'll definitely use this to hurt the princess and isolate her from power. Then the groom declared he'd handle the problem himself. The girl was shocked and already imagined Lord Tvakan punishing Sir Lyndon. Her face twisted in fear. The guy noticed and clarified he wasn't going to use weapons to solve this. Lyanna let out a relieved breath and asked, "How does my lord plan to fix this?" The lord said he didn't know yet, so he said goodbye until tomorrow. But the princess held him back with a question. She asked in a sad voice, "Why would such a powerful, noble lord care about common soldiers' funerals?" He asked, "Why shouldn't it matter to me?" The guy clarified, "From now on, my fiancé's worries automatically become mine too. They're on the hook for Lyanna's safety now, so they're keeping her stress-free and out of trouble." Lyanna asked, "Are there really no other reasons? So Lord Tvakan's only doing this because he's her longtime fiancé? No other motive?" Lord Tvakan mumbled quietly that they're still way too far apart. Then he wondered if the lady would take his help easier if he gave her a special reason. He said, "Then let the princess assume I've got secret motives. Besides, he now wants Miss Lyanna to repay him for handling the funeral mess." Lyanna's fiancé asked, "What do you want from me?" Then reminded him the science realm's in rough shape. Doubt she can offer much. The lord said he'll take whatever the princess can spare, and asked her to switch bedrooms. He declared, "As your fiancé, I'm moving into the room right next to your chambers." The neighboring rooms are where the science rulers live. They're connected by a shared bathroom. Basically, those rooms are one big unit. Lyanna's in shock realizing she's going to share a room with her fiancé. Every private moment, every detail, it's all going to be split. The guy notices Lyanna's stunned look and asks, "Is this some kind of hard ask?" The girl said Lord Tvakan could use it after the wedding. He replied that if that's how it is, it doesn't look like much of a payment. Lyanna declared in a disgruntled tone that since things worked out this way, she'd let the groom move in, but with the condition that he actually helps solve the funeral issue and not a single drop of blood is spilled. The guy said goodbye to his fiancée, promising to see her tomorrow, since he wasn't going to put off the move. He took Lyanna's hand, brought it to his face, gently pressing his lips to the cut on her thumb. Her whole body shivered. At the last moment, my lord asked the princess to take care of her hands, and she found herself wondering if she'd made the right decision. Though it's hard to imagine Lord Tvakan failing at anything or facing a setback in any endeavor. Still, the main heroine was curious to see what the lord would do about the funeral mess. Lyanna, along with our dear viewers, had to guess and wait for the lord's news, left in the dark for now. Sir Veros started his report by telling the lady about the incidents at the temple during funeral prep. He told the lady the chain holding the bell snapped at first, even though the priests took care of it every day. Her Majesty feigned surprise. The subordinate went on, clarifying they somehow managed to hang the bell again. The high priest performed a land consecration ritual to cover the graves. All that was left was to move the coffins to the cemetery and lay them to rest. But that didn't happen. A massive boulder fell from the sky, rolled down, and crushed the stairs leading to the temple. It's wild, sure, but eyewitnesses swear it's true. Now the priests are trapped inside the temple, since those stairs were the only way down. Until they rebuild the staircase, the funeral can't go ahead, and the whole sad affair is postponed. Everyone's worried the high priest did something blasphemous, pissing off the gods and causing the chaos. The princess listened with bated breath, only asking clarifying questions. The advisor added that many priests call the theory nonsense, but all this happened on the funeral day. He dropped a rhetorical question. Doesn't this all scream the Almighty's wrath? Some even say it happened because Her Highness Princess Lyanna couldn't make it to the funeral. The main heroine barely kept a straight face, wondering how such a wild idea ever crossed Lord Tvakan's mind. She thought, is her groom that unhinged he even hired a wizard? Servaraz awkwardly and shyly noted that the princess looked cheerful, even with the gods mad. The girl found it especially amusing how everyone just jumped to blame the high priest for everything. The lady asked her advisor why no one had considered the possibility that the gods were angry with her. After all, it was the high priest who'd barred her from the temple at the funeral. The man replied that yeah, rumors had been floating around, but he never believed him, so he didn't even dare to mention it. The princess said it was true, so they could publicly declare that the gods had reason to be furious. She ordered that tomorrow at dawn, the science guard at the Divine Plaza would read the official decree about it. Servaraz wished the lady a good night and left, leaving the heroine alone to ponder. It was lucky she'd stayed late at work today. That's how she got the good news. She wondered when she'd last felt this happy. It was just before Lord Tvakan took over the castle. Back then, Lyanna never even used the phrase good news. Turns out, Lord Tvakan was the first person in ages to bring the princess a real piece of good news. Still, the heroine was glad the funeral date had changed. The princess struggled to accept she'd never get to speak to or comfort the families of the fallen soldiers. Suddenly, Lyanna heard a knock at the door. She couldn't figure out who'd dare interrupt her so late. She figured it must be Lord Tvakan. A lot of you probably figured it out already. You're not wrong. Behind that door was indeed the main character's groom, though his clothes were dusty and dirty. Probably hadn't changed since his trip to the temple. Lord asked if he could come in, but Lyanna was too shocked to respond, so he just walked in. Lyanna asked why he was here so late, and the guy said he came to announce the funeral issue is resolved. He added the high priest will contact the princess tomorrow, and told her not to believe his claims of interference. There's no proof Lord Tvakan had anything to do with it. Lyanna nodded obediently. Lord continued that the temple now has some minor damage. The princess noted she already knew about it. He said he'll cover all the costs himself. The bride shouldn't worry about it. Then he paused and grumbled, "This all feels too short." And Lyanna had no idea what he meant. Lord said before coming here, he was dealing with the cliff. It took him nearly an entire day. Lyanna realized the cliff meant the rock the temple is built on. He probably climbed it and damaged the bell. Once I distracted them, I probably moved the rock that destroyed the staircase. The heroine finally understood why the groom was all dirty. He'd sweated and worked the whole day for his bride. The Lord felt bad. He'd done so much today, but it all came out short and abrupt. He asked if they could move to the new room now. Lyanna said it was too rushed. Lord Tvakan stepped closer to the princess and asked if he could touch her. He gently brushed his fingers against her chin, but the heroine flinched back immediately. Lord Tvakan realized she didn't want to be touched with dirty hands. Lyanna noticed a wound on his hand and guessed he got it on the cliff, but he said he didn't remember. She insisted he follow her into the room. He needed to treat the wound. Lord Tvakan said he wouldn't budge until he got an answer about moving into the adjacent bedroom. Lyanna fumed at how stubborn Lord Tvakan was, but with a scowl, she gave in. She added, hoping the groom was satisfied now, but he asked something else. Could he touch the bride? Of course, after he'd washed his hands. She replied they needed to finish treating the wound first. Lyanna never expected the good news that made her happy came at such a heavy cost. Lord Tvakan got all dirty, cut up his hands to make his bride happy. Lyanna didn't know how to put a name on what the groom was doing for her, even if he came here for revenge. But for some reason, the princess felt calm and safe being near Lord Tvakan. Those thoughts scared the princess. They shouldn't be having them as the ruler of Nautilia. Lyanna soaked a cloth to wipe the dirt and dust off the Lord's hands before bandaging them. Now she realized the groom just didn't see the wound. Big hands, hard to miss. But the heroine decided to double-check and ask the Lord herself. She asked, "How could you miss the wound? Didn't it hurt?" The guy replied, "Guess I was too busy and in a rush to notice. So cleaning, ointment, and a fresh bandage should do the trick. It doesn't look that bad." She told the guy to scoot closer so she could wash the dirt off his face. He asked, "This close enough?" She wondered, was it the lighting or was he actually damn good looking? Same fiery look in his eyes as before, like that time. The heroine knew if he kept staring at her like that, it wouldn't end well. That's exactly what happened. The princess and Lord Tvakan shared a tender kiss. Lyanna heard someone call her name, blinked a few times, and saw the Lord's shocked face. He noticed she was zoning out and didn't answer, then asked if the princess was okay. She mentally kicked herself for imagining nonsense, then told her fiancé he was too close. The guy scooted back a bit, but it didn't help. It was still awkward. She decided to just get it over with. Lyanna facepalmed inwardly for suggesting she'd wash his face with her hands. Should she ask the fiancé to go even further? No way she was saying that. Probably the candles. They lit his face just right, making him look super cute. The girl said she still felt uneasy because he was too close and told him to shut his eyes. The guy said, "That's a weird request." Lyanna realized she'd asked him to do that, so he couldn't see her emotions. At this close range, she couldn't hide a thing. Then the Lord flat out refused, saying he wouldn't do it. The heroine was thrown for a loop, thought she'd misheard, then asked him to repeat himself. She mentally bristled. Why had the Lord suddenly turned into a stubborn brat? What if water splashed into his eyes? Suddenly, blood gushed from Lord's forehead. Lyanna yelped in surprise. The guy assured her everything was cool. He knew about the wound, but it wasn't bleeding, so no need to waste time on it. She said it was her fault. Sometimes she gets too carried away with the face. But Lord shot back, "Keep going, doesn't even hurt." Lyanna said no way, that head injury needs cleaning out. She was like, what crazy move? Why rush here instead of tending to his injuries? She declared, almost finished. But just then the lights died. Actually, perfect timing, he said. What's perfect about this? She asked. Lord beamed. Now I can finally touch my bride. He reminded her the princess said he could only touch her after washing off the dirt and grime. Lyanna mentally facepalmed. Why did she feel weird? This wasn't their first hug. She figured it was the sudden darkness messing with people's heads. Then she blurted, "Why the sudden obsession with touching me? Could sound nuts," he said. "But I got a rock bonk on the head while scaling that cliff." After the hit, Lord thought death could come out of nowhere, and he didn't even get to touch the bride yet. The guy added, he knows it's a weird reason, but it was the first time he'd ever thought that way after feeling the pain. Lyanna asked why Lord went up that rock, since the path turned out so tough. Lord said the princess shouldn't worry now. He didn't get serious injuries and feels great. The girl replied it still wasn't worth the risk, then privately noted how soft the groom's hair was, even though it looked stiff. Lyanna couldn't believe someone would take such a risk for her. Turns out, this guy isn't as cold and ruthless as he first seemed. The heroine realized maybe a lot of things in life aren't what we expect. Probably goes for rumors too. Lord said it's different from what he expected. Lyanna asked him to clarify what he meant. He explained he thought she'd just stand there and let him touch her, but he didn't expect her to touch the groom's body back. That's why he's even glad he got hurt. The next day, the princess met with priests in her office. She angrily asked if they'd lost their minds, asking for something like this. The high priest calmly repeated that Her Highness needs to postpone the wedding, then loudly declared it's required because God is furious. Lyanna mentally rolled her eyes. Guess the priests believe rumors too. Looks like reading the order worked. Sun had barely risen when the guy sprinted here and started yelling. Priest claimed the ungodly are walking the earth. The heroine said it didn't seem like that at all to her. He asked if the princess denied God's words. She replied she only went by what she heard. Everyone knows the Almighty's furious because Her Highness skipped the funeral. The high priest himself denied her attendance. So it's his fault God's angry, the man shouted. Who dared say that? They say they lowered the priest on a rope. Guess he threw up not just his guts, but his last sane thoughts too. The heroine felt beyond exhausted, probably from not sleeping much today. She'd stayed in the bath with Lord Tvakan till late. Now she still felt how soft his hair was. She almost felt his strong yet gentle arms wrap around her now. The princess didn't hear a word the priest was ranting about. She was lost in her own thoughts of Lord Tvakan. She realized my lord was the first person in her life who made time just fly. The priest finally caught up to the princess and asked if she was even listening. But Lyanna spoke up, voice sharp, making the guy lay out exactly what he wanted from her. He demanded she call off her wedding to Lord Tvakan. She shot back, "What, suddenly?" He said the marriage couldn't happen until God wiped out the barbarian's sins. Otherwise, divine wrath would rain down, he warned. She let out a breath of relief. Finally, they were getting to the real issue here. He kept hammering the point. You gotta understand, the Lord's will is absolute. Turns out the whole thing was about repairing the staircase. Sir Lyndon probably wouldn't fund it. But with how pushy this priest was, the Grand Chancellor must have really pushed to end the union. Lyanna shot back. Let me get this straight. God just showed up in your dream and told you to break the marriage? The priest bristled. How dare you speak so disrespectfully about the Almighty? The trials sent to Nasuk were meant to teach that Arsach heir a lesson. She snapped, watch your tongue! This isn't the temple, it's the palace. Lyanna warned, by secular law, I can have you punished for insulting the royal family. The priest shouted, even if that's true, you can't defy the Lord and marry a sinner. But then the guy froze and clammed up, right as that same damn barbarian's voice echoed from behind him. Lord Tvakan offered an apology to the princess for his delay. The priest leaped to his feet, ranting about how a barbarian had no business in the audience chamber. But Lyanna blew off the question, greeted the groom, and gestured for him to sit down. The guy raised an eyebrow. "Where were we before you interrupted?" Lyanna said flatly, "God's got a problem with us tying the knot." The priest was flustered, couldn't get a word out. Lyanna smirked. "Tactical shift? That's working." Now the princess realized she looked weak and helpless all alone. She shot back, "How long's God making you drag this out?" The priest started shaking, stammering about waiting for God's approval. Lyanna leaned in. "And how exactly do you plan to get that?" He said, "Same way as always, through a representative, meaning me." Lord Tvakan narrowed his eyes. "So everything here just hinges on what you say, right?" The guy smirked. "I'll let your so-called divine rep choose. Sell me your mouth, or I'll rip it open myself." He leaned in, voice colder. "Too soft? I don't open. I tear it apart, completely." The priest sputtered. "What nonsense is this?" Lord Tvakan cut him off. "Watch your tone. This is a royal audience." Lord Tvakan's voice dropped. "You still have a choice, but if you don't pick, the master's gonna make one for you." The priest yelled, "This is messed up. How can you treat a god's representative on earth like this?" As soon as Lord Tvakan whispered the word lock, the only door to the hall slammed shut. The priest protested, "What the hell is this?" He begged Her Highness to do something. Such rudeness was totally unacceptable. Lord Tvakan said, "I'll follow the princess's orders exactly. If she says open it, it opens." The main character said the conversation wasn't over yet, and the door should stay locked for now. The priest urged Her Highness to snap out of it and act like a normal person, but the princess didn't respond. Instead, she suggested continuing this interesting chat. She asked again, "Why move the wedding ceremony?" Lord Tvakan told the priest the funeral would be tonight with the princess attending, and the wedding would go as planned. Lyanna was stunned. Everything wrapped up so fast, even the priest didn't argue with the Lord's terms. She couldn't believe it actually worked out for once. Meanwhile, Lord Tvakan ordered the knights to haul the coffins to the chapel. A second later, the princess realized why the priest had gone along so easily. The guy knew doing what the Lord wanted might give him a huge budget to fix the staircase. The princess told the groom, "This is going too far. You've already blown a fortune on her." After all, the high priest was scared anyway, and wouldn't have pushed to delay the wedding, so funding it was pointless. Lord said not to take it as being rude, but he can spend his own money however he damn well pleases. Lyanna noted how nice it was that Milord actually cared enough to handle her problems without being asked. The groom almost felt like her ally, but whatever real reason he was acting this way would come out when Sir Viraz arrived. For now, she might as well kick back and enjoy feeling safe with her soon-to-be husband around. She thanked the Lord for making sure the funeral and wedding would go off smoothly and quickly. Lord Tivakana raised an eyebrow. "So the bride had actually meant all this seriously?" She clarified, "You're asking if I really don't want to postpone the wedding, my lord?" Lyanna said, "Of course." And the guy's eyes went wide at her answer. She herself was stunned. She'd been treating the marriage like it was already a done deal. Suddenly, the princess noticed Lord Tvakan smirking. She'd never seen him look so damn human before. "I don't mind spending money on this," he said, and it hit her. He was actually happy to be marrying her. Everyone thought her groom was a terrible guy, not knowing the truth. He was a decent guy the princess actually liked. Meanwhile, the Grand Chancellor was losing his mind in his palace. He shouted, "Is it that hard to demand a wedding delay? How did that coward even become High Priest?" Sir Lyndon sighed. "Nothing we can do. Need to find someone else for this job." "Lafitte, what do you mean? This priest's good for nothing. Can't stand watching power stay in that Arsach brat's hands anymore." Lyndon Fertel declared he wants that High Priest replaced. "Nephew, how do you plan to do that? The High Priest's post is for life. If that old man croaks suddenly, it'll take time to find a replacement. No one to perform the wedding rites. No marriage can happen." "You can't do this, uncle. If word gets out, the fallout will be chaos." Grand Chancellor laughed. "Soft, weak nephew. No wonder that girl ran out on you. She wasn't stolen. Not lost yet. I'll bring her back. Still clueless, nephew? Today's the day. Wait till the cemetery's dark." As the priests carried down the coffins, a hooded stranger approached. One of the knights barked at the old man to skedaddle. "Dangerous here." Stranger's shaky hand pointed at Lord Tvakan. "Who's that?" he rasped. The knight asked if the old man really didn't know who the great Lord Commander of Tivakana was. "He's the boss, a god to his men." Then he told the old man to scram already, since he'd gotten the info he wanted. The man silently pleaded in his head. Had my lord come back to avenge Naka's sin? To spill the blood that wasn't spilled that day? The knight barked at the old man. He was sick of repeating himself. This wasn't his place. Evening brought the funeral. The chapel had a huge crowd. The princess was baffled. Madame Flambe muttered there was a reason for it. Everyone was just curious and gossip hungry. At first, the princess had no idea, but then she remembered. Everyone thought Sir Fertel had died, which meant Her Highness was showing up at her lover's funeral with a new fiancé. Lyanna realized the tension was about to blow. Someone might start badmouthing Lord Tvakan, especially if the Grand Chancellor jumped in to stir up rumors. Madame Flambe warned the lady couldn't block everyone's ears and eyes. Better warn my lord about this. The princess was on board, but something told her the groom wouldn't flip out over what people were saying. She'd never seen him lose his temper, but even if he stayed cool, the pressure would be massive. She wasn't scared of him at all, maybe just a little spooked. He gave the main character the weirdest vibes. But Madame Flambeau caught the princess daydreaming. She told the princess to watch her step. The road was rough. And sure enough, a stick dropped right in front of her. Turns out the stick belonged to that mysterious old guy in the hoodie. The nursemaid asked if she was all right, but Madame Flambeau cut her off. She knew old man. She'd seen him loitering near the temple every time she went, tossing him spare change. Lyanna said she had no cash. No way to give anything to a stranger, not with the funeral coming up. When she handed him the stick, he grumbled something about sin and blood. Lyanna asked him to repeat. She missed the words. He shouted it loud. "The Arsach heir better get ready. Blood's coming soon." She couldn't believe her ears. Madame Flambeau warned her off. Strangers could be dangerous. Lyanna shrugged. No big deal. The old guy just wanted to say something. The girl asked him to repeat, but all she heard was some grumbling and random noises. Lord Tvakan's booming voice cut through the room. "What's happening here?" The nurse explained the princess had stopped near some mysterious old man in a hood. The guy then asked if the bride needed more time. But Lyanna figured the poor old man probably couldn't talk. She said she had to go, didn't want to miss the funeral. But if he had something to say, he could catch up later. Lord Tvakan noticed the girl's pale face. "You feeling okay?" Lyanna reassured him she was fine, just stressed about the funeral going smoothly. The Lord said he'd ordered all his guards to stay on high alert. Lyanna gave her thanks. Then the guy said he'd go ahead first to check things out, and Lyanna couldn't stop thinking about what the old man had said. For some reason, those words left a heavy weight in her chest. People started gathering in the hall where the funeral was supposed to happen. The priests gave her some news, and the princess burst out, "That's total nonsense!" Then she asked, "Who last saw the high priest?" One priest admitted he'd seen the high priest arrive at the royal chapel earlier that day. Another priest said none of them had left the chapel all day. Then Lord Tvakan and his assistant walked in. "My lord, what's going on?" The princess said they need to start the funeral, but the high priest's whereabouts are still a mystery. The lord turned to his assistant, asking if he had any info, but the kid just shook his head. "I've got no idea." Sir Lyndon Fertel, chilling with the common folk in the hall, overheard the exchange. Lord Tvakan scoffed. If it was an accident, someone sure as hell planned it out. Firmos nodded. "I'll handle it right away, my lord. You're always spot on." The second he turned the corner, the princess shot Lord Tvakan a question. "You think someone actually set this up?" Tivakana rubbed his chin. "Could be. The high priest had plenty of enemies." That's when the lord's eyes locked onto Lord Fertel, who was chilling in the crowd. Suddenly, Firmos bellowed, "I found the high priest!" A kid burst in, breathless. "My lord, we think we located him!" Firmos dashed to the coffins, shouting, "The high priest's got to be in one of these." He said the gravedigger mentioned one of the coffins felt heavier than the others, so he yanked the lid off the heaviest one. The princess let out a blood-curdling scream. Tivakana smirked. "Hiding a body in a coffin? Classic move." Firmos said this wasn't an accident. Someone went to a lot of trouble to hide the body. When the princess concluded the high priest had been murdered, she noticed the Grand Chancellor was the most shocked, like he had no idea. He, like everyone else in the hall, sighed and fumed. How could someone do this on a day like this? Then he asked, "Who's gonna lead today's funeral?" The question spread, not just the people in the hall, but the priests too. They decided they needed to call an emergency council of elders. The high priest's seat's empty. The Grand Chancellor told the princess, "A position this important can't stay empty. So as soon as the council wraps up and they name a new high priest, he'll step out and make the announcement." Sir Lyndon Fertel announced the funeral's delayed again. He told his underlings to handle the caskets. The princess's fury was obvious from a mile away. To calm the bride down, the lord grabbed her hand, told her not to take this as a personal defeat. My lord declared, "I'm on security duty for Knock now. Gonna hunt down the culprit with the princess." The heroine thought, he's right. The House of Arsach's got new bodyguard knights now. Those days are over. The princess isn't just gonna take backstabbing lying down anymore. Whoever's involved in the high priest's murder, no matter how much power they've got, they're going to pay for it. Well, Sir Lyndon made a fatal mistake. He didn't realize that repeating those crazy old crimes isn't possible anymore. The heroine decided, enough is enough. She didn't want to live in constant fear anymore. Getting rid of that fear starts with taking out a real specific enemy. So Lyanna boldly suggested the Lord start by gathering evidence against the murderer. That evening, Lord Fertel's castle was in an uproar. The Grand Chancellor was screaming curses and hurling objects at the guy who killed the high priest. He raged about how anyone could have thought to put the body in a coffin. because all the mercenary had to do was stage it as an accident. Sir Lyndon shoved the mercenary, and he shouted, "What the hell were you thinking? Did you want to get caught?" The poor guy held up his arms and screamed, "There wasn't enough time. Plus, too many witnesses in the temple." The Chancellor sneered, "That's a lousy excuse," and started kicking the mercenary. Then he said, "I hope you didn't leave any damn evidence. Otherwise, they'll trace it back to you." Sir Lyndon gave the order. He asked why the bird-brained mercenary didn't even think to toss the body down the stairs. Just like when the previous high priest got killed, Sir Lyndon repeated, "No one ever must know it was his order. You don't mess around with barbarians. Otherwise, he'd eliminate the mercenary himself." The kid, spitting up blood, said he got it. Amazing he could even talk after those beatings. The funeral was in full swing. Coffins already lined up next to the dugout graves. Lord Tvakan and his aide kept a close eye on things, ready to control the situation. Meanwhile, the princess was handing out furniture scraps to the families of fallen soldiers. That's the only real value she had left. Farimus muttered it wasn't shocking. Her Highness was broke. Now he finally got why. Lord Tvakan argued that, in his view, generosity and kindness were the marks of a true ruler. He added, of course, the princess needed to look out for herself sometimes, not just everyone else. The Lord's aide mentioned rumors she didn't even have mourning clothes and had to rework an old dress. The man reminded them it was precisely her character and sharp mind that made her accept his proposal. Farimus had no choice but to agree. Then he wanted to know the boss's take. Why the heck did Sir Felter kill the high priest like that? The guy doesn't seem like a fool. The Lord said when they pulled the body from the coffin, the Grand Chancellor's face looked way too shocked. It was obvious those weren't fake emotions. He figured either something went sideways, or there was no intention to kill, or the hired killer messed up big time. The boss told his underling to dig into what's up, then jumped off his horse. He noticed the princess was already free. Farimus was wondering, maybe the Lord felt awkward watching his bride look so crushed, head hanging low from the heartbreak. For battles he's had with Lord Tvakan, this small pile of corpses is basically a miracle. But clearly, the Lord still feels bad about the princess. He cares, see? He's not the type to ignore his girl's feelings and emotions. He swore he'd bring her back, and sooner or later, things will come full circle. Though, honestly, maybe the Lord should have popped the question to the princess way earlier, before she had an official suitor. Then all this bloodshed might have never happened. The assistant couldn't wrap his head around how his lord would one day change so much for love. Now the story's moving us to the princess's palace. The heroine's freezing in her bedroom, thinking, if it's this cold now, what the hell's winter gonna be like? Lyanna already regretted crawling out of her warm blanket. But morning came, and she had to get up. She figured she needed to splash some water on her face. Maybe that'd knock the sleep and chills out of her. She yanked open the bathroom door and let out a yelp. Half-naked Lord Tvakan was standing there. He scratched the back of his neck. Does the princess want to go first? She snapped. First thing I want to know is why the bare-ass groom is in my bathroom. The Lord chuckled. You're adorable when you're half asleep. Oh, and by the way, this is my bathroom now too. Lyanna groaned, suddenly remembering their recent agreement. Shit. Sorry for snapping. I'm still half asleep. She slammed the door behind her and cursed under her breath. How could she forget their arrangement and end up in this mess? She barked through the door. Go ahead, Lord. Take your time. And don't worry, this won't happen again. He called back. Sure thing. But, where's the actual tub? She huffed. There was one before. Big, fancy, gold-trimmed. Till Felder smashed it up for his garden. The marble's all in pieces now, being used as garden decor. She muttered. I had no choice but to sell whatever I could. It just didn't feel right wasting so much water on a bath. She paused. You need me for something, my lord? He shot back. I didn't say I wanted a bath. The guy added that it'd be nice to welcome her with the bride someday. The main heroine was totally shocked. Viewers were probably floored by the Lord's wild request too. The girl freaked out, not getting why the groom was so hellbent on this. For a second, she pictured how it'd actually play out, but she snapped out of it fast, flat out denying it was even possible. She felt gross for even letting the thought in. Lyanna rushed back to her room, flopped on her bed, and vowed to stay on high alert around the Lord from now on. I mean, the guy's basically to blame. How can someone look so damn hot and say all these weird things that make her blush? The heroine mentally told herself to stop having these dumb feelings for him. Had to figure out what he was really up to first. People keep telling her Lord Tvakan's got revenge on his mind, and they're not just saying that for kicks. The girl decided she needed to track down that old man with the cane. While the Lord and his assistant were sorting through documents, a guard burst in and announced the princess had left the palace. He added he'd heard the lady went to the temple to hand out food to the poor. Faramus noted how hardworking the princess was, then asked who'd gone with her. The guard said she'd taken one night. The Lord lost his mind. Who even lets someone go alone like that? The Lord demanded to know who in their right mind had let her head into such a dangerous place. The subordinate asked what else he could do. Can't exactly force her to stay, after all. Then reminded him the Lord specifically told the soldiers to treat her with respect and keep things friendly. Lord said that's exactly what he told them, but it's worth checking. Firmos asked, "At least posted some guards yet?" The knight hesitated, said we've got one guy on it, and offered to send more. Firmos barked, "Send a few, anything could happen." Lord said he could just go himself. Work's got to be more exciting than this paperwork. His assistant argued the Lord didn't need to go in person. Knights would handle it. Firmos countered there were still piles of reports to sign, and the High Priest's killer to track down. Lord insisted his assistant was perfectly capable. Firmos snapped, "You can't do this all on your own." As the Lord left, he called back, "If that's the case, I've got no reason to hang around here." The Lord's assistant stood alone in the office, wondering for the 100th time why his master always left him hanging. Last time it was chasing the princess. Now it's paperwork piling up to the ceiling. Who knew love would turn the Lord into such a drama queen? When the princess arrived at the temple, she told her escort to wait here. He asked if she really didn't want him to handle it. Said he could get it done fast. But the princess declared she wanted to hand out food herself. I told the escort to keep an eye on the situation, especially to watch for any of Sir Felter's soldiers showing up. The guy wished the lady luck, while she was already thinking about how to track down that old man. No one should know what she's gonna say to him, at least until Sir Veros gets back. After wandering around a bit, Lyanna finally ran into him, but she caught some random stranger handing the old guy a loaf of bread. Guess the temple staff figured they'd give the old man a snack too. Out of nowhere, the old man flung the bread away. Then, he started pounding the cloaked stranger with his cane. Lyanna couldn't take it anymore and shouted at them to stop. She tried to get to the bottom of it, asking the old man why he was attacking the one who gave him food. Then she questioned the stranger if he'd messed with the old man somehow, since he looked so angry. But no one answered her. Instead, the stranger, the second he locked eyes with her, bolted without a word. Lyanna told him not to run off. She chased him down and yanked off his cowl, revealing his face with a huge gory wound on his head. Lyanna realized this didn't look like a cane injury. Looks like this wound's been around a while. There's a ton of dried blood crusted on his forehead. Lyanna asked how he got it. The stranger yanked his hood back up and mumbled something about praying for atonement. She called him out. "Then why are you bleeding all over the place?" He deadpanned. "Atonement demands a blood sacrifice." She filed that thought away. Something about this didn't sit right. No deity she'd ever heard of wanted his followers bleeding and suffering for a thank you. Lyanna pressed. "You get any real medical attention for this?" He stayed quiet. Diana's eyes narrowed. "You didn't, did you?" She snapped. "Then start cleaning those cuts before I send a formal complaint to the temple, or go check on you myself." The stranger didn't utter a word. Lyanna tried again. "What's your name?" A whisper crackled in the air. "Klima." Princess Lyanna gave a tight smile. "Pleasure meeting you, Klima. You're free to leave now." She turned on her heel, marching toward the old man. "Your turn to talk, old man." She wasn't beating around the bush anymore. This was the question burning in her mind for days. She locked eyes with him. "Lord Tvakan, what grudge does he hold? Against who?" The old man stayed stone-faced. Lyanna leaned in, voice sharp. "You were the one who told me about this not 2 days ago. Time to spill everything, right now." After a long silence, the old man finally cleared his throat and spoke to the girl as the Arsacid heir. Suddenly, someone called out to the princess. It was her escort. Lyanna asked what's going on, and he, breathless, told her Lord Tvakan was on his way here. Shock and hurt hit Lyanna's face. She knew this talk would get postponed again. She realized the groom couldn't find out who that old man was. Period. Told her commander to stall Lord Tvakan for a sec. After a beat, Lyanna stepped out to meet the Lord. Lord Tvakan gaped at his bride-to-be. Her beauty floored him. He muttered he didn't even recognize her, since she looked nothing like a princess now. Lyanna flushed instantly, then explained the tattered, weathered outfit was just because she'd worn it before. Lord Tvakan said she was naturally stunning. Lyanna rolled her eyes, wondering why he was bullshitting her. What's the point of the praise if all he's after is revenge? Lyanna snapped. "Cut the act, Lord Tvakan. I'm not some special prize." The guy handed her his hand. Lyanna blinked. Why the hell was he so damn polite to her? The princess asked why Lord Tvakan was here. He said he'd heard she'd slipped out of the castle. So I decided to accompany the bride, but she probably finished her business. Lyanna coldly replied that it really was the case. Then the Lord asked if the princess often goes out alone. She argued that she's not alone. The commander of the royal guard is with her. The guy noted that one person isn't enough. Lyanna said Nock is so small, she doesn't need an entire guard to accompany her. My lord said he disagreed, and reminded her how Sir Lyndon held the princess by force, and almost forced her into marriage. The guy asked to be called next time. The girl said it wouldn't work. Her groom has way more to do than she does. He replied that now taking care of his bride's safety and accompanying her is part of his duties. In moments like this, the heroine especially felt glad her groom was so kind to her. She asked when the temple repairs would start. the Lord said when a new cardinal is chosen. Lyanna mentally noted the Lord was smart. He probably wanted to make sure the wedding actually happened, so he's not rushing to pay for the repairs. But if the Lord were truly her destined one, he'd always support his bride. Lyanna bitterly thought to herself that then she could finally breathe easy. She was so lost in thought, she didn't hear the carriage speeding up behind her. Suddenly, the knight shouted to the Lord, "Turn around right now!" Lord Tvakan and the princess spun around. But it was too late. The cart of barrels flipped over. There were way too many of them, and they were heavily packed. So when they tumbled out and started rolling, the princess and Lord nearly froze, scrambling to get out of the way. Lord Tvakan screamed his fiancée's name, then shoved her out of the line of fire. After the mess died down, the princess came to. A scream snapped her back. Someone was crushed under the barrels. Her heart stopped cold. Lyanna refused to believe anything had happened to her fiancé. She hauled herself up, legs shaking, and staggered off to find him. Just as she started running, a hand clamped over Lyanna's mouth. "Don't scream," he whispered. She recognized Lafitte's voice. Her ex pressed into her ear. "Don't want anyone to see me." The next second, he'd already shoved the protagonist into his carriage and barked at the driver to haul ass right now. Lyanna gasped. "Lafitte's a complete lunatic. He doesn't even know what he's doing." She reminded him how she'd asked him before to vanish quietly and without a trace. The girl was stunned and furious at his recklessness, but the kidnapper didn't respond to her words. He grabbed Lyanna's hand and spoke to her like his beloved. The guy said he was genuinely glad she was unharmed. He'd been so worried it would hurt her. He added he'd been dying to talk to her in a private spot. Just the two of them, no distractions. She tried yanking her hand free, but he held on. Called him a total psycho. She was freaking out about what was happening outside. How Lord Tvakan was feeling. Ordered him to stop spouting nonsense and stop the carriage right now. At the last second, instead of saving himself, he'd shoved the bride aside. There wasn't even a window in the carriage, and the heroine couldn't sit still, worrying about Lord Tvakan's condition. Of course, she kept imagining the worst, but the princess tried to stay positive, believing everything was okay with her fiancé. But Lafitte kept telling his beloved Lyanna otherwise, telling her to calm down. Lord Tvakan had been dead for a long time. He added she could chill and quit playing the concerned bride. There was nothing left to worry about. Lafitte said she couldn't even imagine how long he'd waited for this. He swore he'd planned this for ages and made not a single mistake. Lord Tvakan wasn't walking out of this after getting buried under all those heavy barrels. Lafitte bragged he'd thought of everything. He told his knights to handle everything. If they find the Lord breathing, they'll take care of it. The princess was stunned. She couldn't believe it. Meanwhile, the carriage kept rolling farther, but the girl knew Lafitte was lying. The Lord had survived 10 years in a war-torn territory. He didn't just keel over from some random accident on the street. Her mind kept fighting back. No way fate would be this cruel to her fiancé, not to him. Tears spilled from the heroine's eyes. She screamed, "This is a blatant lie! Lord can't be dead!" Lyanna raged so hard, she yanked her hand free from her ex's grip. The furious girl ordered, "Get out, and don't ever set foot in Naka again." Lafitte snapped, "Be honest with yourself. Your feelings for me haven't disappeared." Lyanna barked, "Last warning. If you come back, I'll deal with you myself." The kidnapper probably didn't hear her final words. The carriage lurched violently. Lafitte hammered the front wall, demanding the driver slow down, but all he got were muffled grunts. He frowned. Something was definitely off. Suddenly, crash! The carriage jolted sideways. Lafitte didn't even have time to react. The carriage suddenly screeched to a halt. The guy couldn't hold his ground. Smacked right into the princess. A second later, the carriage door burst open, and for a moment, sunlight blinded Lyanna. She squinted hard, making out her fiancé's silhouette. The heroine remembered. It had happened once before. Sunlight poured into a tent, and that's when the girl first saw the Lord. At the time, she thought the Lord looked like a big, ferocious beast. Back then, Lyanna felt he'd lunge for his enemy's throat any second. Same feeling hits her now. Suddenly, Lord Tvakan gripped the scumbag by the ankle, the one who'd crashed into the princess, yanked him out of the carriage, and flung him clear. That move told her how fierce her fiancé's emotions were. Lifting a guy like that isn't easy. He told Lyanna she could exit the carriage, but she hadn't shaken off the shock yet. Didn't even move. Lord asked if he should carry her out. She snapped back into it and shot back, "I can walk out myself!" Meanwhile, Lord Tvakan's knights had already grabbed Lafitte, who was begging Lyanna to order them to let him go. At her core, the main character was secretly relieved to see Milord standing before her alive, after all the mental turmoil she'd been through. Suddenly, the girl noticed a blood drop from her groom's body. Her anxiety came rushing back. "Oh no!" she exclaimed. "Milord's been injured!" The princess reached out to examine him, but he suddenly pulled away, insisting his wounds weren't serious. She quickly added, "I just want to help." Lord's voice dripped with irritation. "Are you wondering if the cuts are deep enough to kill me?" Lyanna's face scrunched up in confusion. Why would my groom say such terrifying things? My lord reminded her of the day he vowed to spare the illegitimate son of the Felters, only once. Everyone knew the first time had already occurred. Then it suddenly hit the princess. After the surprise attack during their stroll, he woke up and took care of everyone. But the princess was gone, so he gave chase to the carriage and found his bride with her ex, and she was showing a little belly. She knew this awkward situation could easily be misread, so she chuckled and declared, "My lord, you've got it all wrong." Lyanna explained she didn't get into the carriage by choice. It wasn't until they dragged her in that she realized this wasn't an accident. The Lord pointed out that if the princess claims she knew nothing about this, that completely changes the game. Looks like the Felter clan's illegitimate heir was dreaming up betrayal all on his own. My lord called his knights and told them to haul that scumbag prisoner up here. Wants to chop off his head on the spot. Ordered the body to be dumped and the head sent to his family as a gift. There goes the real savage showing his true colors. Lyanna didn't see this ending coming, and I bet the audience is just as shocked. She ran up to my lord, begging him not to kill the prisoner. The lord snapped that he told her not to get involved, but the princess kept begging. Then he asked if in science they just let traitors off the hook. Lyanna said the problem is the Felter house won't forgive an execution. They'll see it as an insult, and she's scared of the fallout. My lord said it's nothing, he's always got her back. But she knew it wasn't that simple. If the Felters declare war on the royal family, every aristocrat in the kingdom will jump on their side. Lord Tvakan won't sit this out. He'll deliver a brutal strike. Then knock fractures, civil war erupts, the kingdom falls. She figured enough blood had already been spilled over in science. She should have cut ties with Lafitte and jumped at Lord Tivakana's offer right away. She shouldn't have let Lord Felter go, bug the neighboring kingdom for help. Maybe then they could have avoided so many deaths, stopped things from getting this far. The princess wouldn't have had to lie every month, invent excuses to hide her condition and her total cluelessness. She wouldn't have had to tear her hair out trying to figure out her real feelings. The princess kept begging her groom to leave the traitor alone, said she only wanted to save Nock, not this dirtbag. But the lord said he didn't buy it. He added he was sick of trusting her. She always cooked up convincing lies and forgot her promises. She begged him to listen, said every word she was saying was the truth. Lord replied she'd lied for so long, now he'd never believe her, no matter what. The girl said she'd risk everything, if he'd just believe her. Lord said the bride had a nasty habit. Thought she could pull the same scam as last time and use it to trick him again? Lyanna gasped. "My lord, you're saying such a thing? That never even crossed my mind." My lord said, "From now on, I don't care what plans the bride had. He said he's made up his mind. He won't trust her anymore." He asked, "Still want me to spare the prisoner, huh?" The girl nodded yes. The guy grumbled, "Fine, I'll let him go, just so the princess finally backs off from me." The lord declared, "In return, I want something from the princess." He yanked her closer and growled, "You're sleeping with me tonight." Lyanna froze like a statue. My lord barked at one of his knights. "Tie that prisoner up tight and get him out of here." The knight asked, "Sir, aren't we supposed to kill him?" The lord snapped, "Orders don't get debated." He also ordered his men to escort the princess to the castle first. The knight objected, "You shouldn't ride alone and on a horse." The squire shouted after him, "Your wounds are serious!" But Lord Tvakan didn't even turn around. Madame Flambette eyed the princess's sour face and asked, "What's got you so gloomy?" "You just went to hand out food to the poor," she pointed out. The nurse wondered, "Why so many guards around the princess?" "You only went with the commander." The girl shrugged. "A lot happened, but I'll explain later. Right now, I just want a bath." Madame Flambe shouted that she still had her water left and suggested heading to the chambers. Lyanna thanked the knights and told them they were free to go, but they said they'd stay until the lord gave further orders. The princess said the castle was safe, and she didn't need guarding, but the knights countered that it was just her opinion. The lord thinks differently. Only when the chamber doors slammed shut and the princess and her nanny were alone could they speak openly. Madame Flambe anxiously asked what had happened that made the knights stand here to guard the lady. Lyanna replied she'd explain everything, but first they needed to sit down and rest. The nanny scolded her for sitting on the floor. She said if she sat on a chair, it'd get dirty, and they'd have to clean the upholstery. There was already enough to handle as it was. The nanny asked if something happened during the walk. Lyanna remembered the lord's harsh words. He didn't trust her anymore. Those words cut into her heart like a dagger. The princess was hurting really bad, even though she was with her fiancé, who didn't trust her either. When Madame Flambe heard from the princess that Lord Felter had wanted to kill Lord Tvakan and take her hostage, she started wailing and exclaiming about God, then asked how the chief of the barbarians was feeling. The princess said he was alive, but badly injured. The nanny fumed. What did Her Highness have to do with it? Sir Felter did it, not her. The main heroine asked how she realized the lady was being accused of something. The woman said you could tell just by looking at how these brutes behaved, and how they used to act so friendly before. The girl thought she'd heard it all about barbarian savagery and roughness, but hadn't seen anything like this yet. Even now, when the Lord is mad at the bride, he only gets more intense. Still, he always respects her. Lyanna said the Lord thinks she's in cahoots with Lafitte. Madame Flambeau asked, "Is that really true?" The princess was outraged the nanny could even think that, especially since the Lord controls the whole palace. You'd need to be nuts to even attempt something like that. Madame Flambeau asked why the Lord thought that. Lyanna couldn't give a straight answer. She just sighed and looked glum. The woman added, "Honestly, the barbarian leader thinking that makes sense. He's convinced the bride's got another man's kid." The princess admitted she didn't regret lying to the Lord about it the first time they met. She had something to protect, but now she was already exhausted from lying all the time. Turns out, it's harder than she thought. The whole situation left her wondering, how long can this keep going? When will they ever learn to trust each other? Madame Flambeau asked, "Why won't you just tell the Lord he got it all wrong?" The princess replied, "I tried, but the groom didn't buy it. Once trust is gone, it's not easy to get back." The princess was sure there was no turning back now, especially with her period starting any day. Once her period actually starts, there's no way to hide it. But she can't just blurt out the truth and expect the groom to believe her. The girl said she'd go wash up and clear her head for a bit. Madame Flambeau asked her to stick around a little longer, but Lyanna told the nanny to bring some fresh clothes. Madame Flambeau added she'd bring water as well. The princess said she could handle it, but the nanny was already gone. Lyanna stepped into the bathroom, telling herself everything was going to be fine as long as Lafitte and Lord Tvakan made it. Now science wasn't in danger. Everything was good. But the memory hit her hard. Her fiancé had asked her to lie with him tonight. She told herself it was totally wrong, impossible even to think about. She couldn't even let herself think about it, wedding or not. She reached for the door lock, then stopped, acting like a total fool. Her fiancé wouldn't barge in here and force her. He wasn't that kind of man. Stripping down, she noticed her whole back was bruised, making her wonder how it happened. Then it hit her. The carriage had jolted sideways during the kidnapping today, and she'd slammed into it. Her back looked ugly and hurt like hell, but Lord Tvakan was way more hurt. Wondered how he was holding up. If the Lord was really okay, the knights wouldn't be trying to talk her out of riding. She sincerely hoped they'd taken care of his wounds, prayed everything was okay now. The door suddenly burst open. Frozen in the doorway was Lord Tvakan. Lyanna froze too, not knowing what to do. Both were stunned until the princess finally broke the awkward silence with a scream. She was furious about the groom being here at all. The guy said the door lock must have been messed up, broken, so he didn't realize she was in here. Lyanna rambled on about him needing to leave, since she was about to finish up in the bathroom. Lord gave the princess a serious look, asking if she was hurt. Her hand and back looked awful. He asked if the bride had been hit by a barrel. She admitted it probably happened when they dragged her into the carriage. Lord Tvakan looked so furious he could have roared like a beast. She told the groom to turn around. Sure, they're engaged, but this was still awkward. Lord said he must have messed up. Lyanna double-checked what he meant. He snapped, apologized, and slammed the door. The main character was left clueless, not sure how to process this situation. Princess changed in her room, mentally raving about how Lord was a total nightmare. How the heck did someone mess up a solid latch? Suddenly, she wondered, if Lord was that strong and tried to take her by force, she wouldn't stand a chance. Even when Lyanna told him to leave the bathroom, he didn't push back. The girl realized she couldn't leave an injured person alone in the bathroom. They needed help, like bringing them water. As she poured water into the tub, she noted to herself that Lord was the type who wouldn't do anything he didn't want to do. She knocked and called out that it was clear to come in, but no one answered. She figured maybe Lord had just stepped out, so she left the bathroom to find him. A few meters from the bathroom, Lord was lying unconscious on the floor. She sprinted to Lord and started begging him to wake up. It took a while before he finally opened his eyes and asked what had happened to him. Lyanna replied that she opened the door and found Lord lying on the floor. He said he probably just waited too long and dozed off. The girl sarcastically wondered if the groom had really decided to sleep on the floor. She declared that if they cut the jokes, it was obvious Lord was bleeding from his wound. The princess guessed Lord had passed out from losing too much blood. The young man replied that everything was fine now that he'd woken up. But the princess didn't see it that way. She was annoyed that her fiancé wasn't taking his injury seriously. He's not even treating his wounds, doesn't want help with it, just gritting his teeth through the pain. The heroine was confused. Why was Milord so worked up? Someone else is hurt, and he's treating his own wounds like they don't matter. Lyanna helped him sit up, then gave Milord a direct order to strip his clothes off. She flat out told him she was gonna clean him up. He couldn't just ignore someone who'd just collapsed. The guy muttered that he didn't need to worry about little scratches. Everything was fine. Lyanna shot back. Doesn't look fine to me. She was fed up with the Lord always being stubborn and barked at him again. Just take off your clothes, she only wanted to help. Milord raised an eyebrow. Why was his bride going so overboard now? The girl snapped that he should be the one asking why. Hadn't he put himself in this mess more than once before? The guy grumbled she wasn't getting him at all. It wasn't about that. Then he asked if this was how she was showing gratitude for the Lord sparing that prisoner's life. He added that if this was her idea of thanking him, she was barking up the wrong tree. He wanted something far different. Lyanna argued it wasn't gratitude at all. She just wanted to take care of my lord's wounds properly. He asked, surprised, why the princess was so eager to do this. She declared, "Because I'm your bride." But to her surprise, the Lord's expression stayed cold and unreadable. He didn't look happy, but that wasn't exactly unexpected. She wondered if she'd be just as confused as the groom if she were in his shoes after today's events. The Lord pointed out it was awkward to bring up now, but he usually bathes completely naked. The heroine's eyes went wide. She'd completely overlooked this. The guy just said he wouldn't take off his underwear. So Lord Tvakan sat in front of her, half-dressed and totally unbothered. She gasped, stunned by the sheer number of wounds on his body. "You're telling me you were planning to handle this alone?" He huffed. "What's so complicated? I just rinse it off." Lyanna bit her lip, realizing the injuries were way worse than she thought. She imagined if she had wounds like that, she'd barely be able to stand. The bright side? His old arrow scar was almost gone. As Lyanna swabbed his back again, he flinched and barked, "It's killing me!" She stammered an apology. "I didn't think it'd hurt this bad. I'll be more careful, I promise." He snapped, "I'm not in pain, it's just too light." That's when she caught it. He was just ticklish from the soft cloth. "I'll wrap this up quick," she said. He shook his head. "No rush." Soon Lyanna declared, "All set on your back. You can handle the rest yourself." The princess blushed, adding, I'll still help if you want me to." The guy asked if that's what she was offering, just because he's her fiancé. Lyanna said no. It's just that it's tough to properly clean the wounds by myself. The Lord apologized for even asking that. "With all this care, it starts to feel like my fiancé is just trying to repay a favor quickly." Lyanna said that's not the case at all, especially since she's calm, knowing Lord isn't the type to force her into something terrible. The Lord asked if he understood correctly, that the princess just said sleeping with him is terrible. The girl stammered, "No, that's not what I meant. It's just that my fiancé won't force me into anything if I'm not ready." The guy asked why she assumed that. Lyanna replied, "Because all this time, my groom has been treating me with kindness and care." The Lord said, "That's a different matter." Lyanna replied, "No, Lord is still kind to me, even though I turned him down." The guy said he couldn't figure out if the princess is cunning and calculating, or just way too naive. He asked, "Are you sure the bride understands everything and still says these things to her groom, knowing what happened today and what's going to happen tonight?" Lyanna replied, "I know enough, and I remember perfectly well what he did today to save me." Lord Tvakan suddenly said, "This can't go on any longer," and asked the bride to leave the bathroom before he could no longer control himself. Lyanna was secretly relieved. She'd known from the start this guy wouldn't make her pay for the favor. She said she straight up knows Lord Tvakan's a stand-up guy, and told him to chill out so she could handle her fiancé her way. The beat-up main character barely made it to her room and crashed onto the bed, dead on her feet. She'd just finished washing her hair and patching up that wound. Dinner time was long gone. She was mentally wondering how the hell Lord Tvakan had put up with this for so long. Hell, even a simple bruise was a major painkiller for her. She blamed Lafitte for this mess. Why couldn't the guy just accept they were done? The Lord had ordered that scumbag locked up, so he was sitting in some cell right now. When Lord Lyndon found out, there'd be hell to pay. Lyanna decided she needed to focus on something good to take her mind off the pain. At that moment, her head echoed with her fiancé's voice, begging her to leave while he could still play the nice guy. His request was harsh, but his voice stayed soft. Yet Lyanna felt like she was in danger, like she was standing naked and defenseless in front of a raging predator. She knew deep down Lord Tvakan would never hurt her. That's probably why she felt so at ease around him. What bugged her was how Lord Tvakan had seemed all over the place at first. Suddenly, Lyanna heard the door creak and shot up, scared. "Who's there?" The candle lit up Lord Tvakan's face. The princess's face showed shock. Lord had said he came to collect his payment. Lyanna stammered, "Lord isn't that kind of person. He wouldn't." The young man asked, "Didn't the princess get what she wanted?" "Why can't I do what I want?" The girl asked. "What's the groom planning to do?" He replied, "I won't do anything the bride would clearly dislike." The girl asked, "What's that jar in your hand?" He replied, "It's medicine." "Princess, turn around." He added, "I won't ask the bride to undress, just sit as close as possible." Then he said, "Bear with me, even if it itches a bit." A second later, the girl protested. "What's my lord planning?" she asked. He replied, "Just taking care of my bride." The young man noted, "While the princess picked at me, she's not exactly eager to take care of her own health." Lyanna assured him, "I can reach myself." The guy reminded her, "You could have bathed yourself back then too, but you accepted the bride's help." He noted, "Now it's your turn." The princess asked, "Aren't you the groom who was supposed to collect payment?" The young man replied, I decided to replace that request with this action. She asked her fiancé why he went ahead with it. He replied it was obvious from the start the princess wasn't about to do anything about her wounds. She demanded he hand over the medicine, but he objected. Then he couldn't touch the bride. Lyanna secretly liked hearing that, and even gave a little smile. The guy added, Lyanna's got a bunch of bruises in places she can't reach. Lyanna told him to speed up, but he shot back. I've been through the same. Had to bear your touches. Besides, he wasn't in a rush to apply it. Planned to take his time, savoring the moment. She pointed out that talk wasn't right for someone applying medicine. He shot back, I've got no patience for decorum right now. Lyanna asked if he didn't care for looking proper. He snorted, right now it's pointless. She asked, what's with the pushy act then? He said in a low voice, I'm doing this to claim the princess.